All right. So going live for a little bit. All wired up, having just finished watching Diversity and Dragons, in which he speaks about something I made a video about, even though, to be honest, you know, basically it's just me showing that, yeah, I agree with him. And I do. The guy from the gaming gang is lame. That's kind of the worst thing about him, really. Not that he's necessarily, it's just he's so lame. It's like, and when that's the only word I have to describe the guy. And I mean, I know I'm lame too. I'm a dork, but oh man, not on that level. There's just something about that guy that screams stranger danger. I don't know what it is. And I'm not don't count this as like me making accusations. I don't know, but I don't know. I feel like I would not be super comfortable hanging out with that guy. He's kind of got that holier than thou attitude where if you were playing, hey, unscripted, what is up, my homie? He's kind of got that attitude. Like, he strikes me as the kind of guy that would try to rules lawyer you like nonstop during a game. That's kind of the insult that I think of when I watch any of his products. It's just like, this is the kind of guy who would argue rules and whatever, very passive aggressively, mind you, but he would. I hope I didn't interfere with something you were doing, DM Bloodworth. I did check to make sure nobody that I watch was streaming, because I ran over one of Bear's streams the other day, and I felt a little bad about it, but he was cool. He just came and joined my stream, which I thought was awesome because I'm a fan of those Canadians and Yankees and whatever. Which, by the way, I put that link in there. If you ever want to join, I mean, all you got to do is hit it. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. Right now, I'm just running some miniatures through my UV light, and I may paint some, but I don't expect I'll be up too late. I mean, it's already like 10:30, so I should get on the phone with my brother and make him get up, but he probably wouldn't, though. He just wouldn't answer the phone. But anyway, going to stream Sunday I'm afraid, sir, that does not work for me, because Sunday at 7, I will be running my Old School Centrals game.
Hey, we should talk about the Kanakistani.
Coco P. Hey, Leth, I don't know. You're pretty quiet. What's up?
You get to talk about the Kanakastanis again, huh?
No, I was saying I didn't see Bear being on. Otherwise, I would have joined his show. Because, I mean, Haas, I'm not going to call him Hungar anymore. I'm just going to call him Haas, which is his nickname. He did point out that I always have people on my stream and I never go on their stream. And maybe he's right. Maybe, I mean, if I'm going to have Bear come on my stream all the time and make it enjoyable for people, perhaps the least I could do is find my way on his streams too, like a little payback,
Who's Coco be talking about? I'm trying to figure out.
The gaming game guy.
Oh,
He basically passively aggressively tried to call someone out, which fine, who cares? It's the internet, and I'll tell you what, everyone calls everyone out. That,
I call myself out for fun.
hey, Ducato, what is up?
I don't know. I don't really care about calling people out.
Well, I'm just saying that if you ever had like your own channel where you talked about shit at one point or another, or say you're on my channel and you want to, at one point or another, people call people out. It
Yeah.
happens. Somebody does something or other. And unfortunately, those are the most popular videos because people love drama. Oh, dude, no, I know it's a long day for you. You've been up probably since before 6 o'clock. I don't know where you live in the city, but depending on where you live versus where you work, I mean, you might have an hour commute. I know catching a subway from Queens, across town was a pain in the ass last time I visited the area. But yeah, I don't know if I told you that, but that's where my pops grew up in Queens off of Jewel Street. So, that's why when people talked all the shit about Trump, the first thing I always told everybody is like, guys, he's from Queens. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you understand, right?
I think it makes it funny. I don't hate it. It's like interesting.
I was raised by a man from Queens. I know how they can be. They like to talk, big talk, but good people though. Good
I
people
mean,
generally.
did you see what Trump recently did with the president of South Africa?
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
hilarious.
And same to you, Bloodworth. I will definitely. I mean, I watch your stuff, but it's always like a little after the fact, Hey, off grid, Mister, give me the third degree on some shit I didn't even know about. You know what I mean? But I love you. I love you, Mister Kanukistanian. And yes, I don't know when 120 commute each way. Yeah, that's what I was saying. The best thing about visiting Queens though is the apartment where my pops lived. There was this tiny pizza joint like directly downstairs. Like as soon as you walk
Hey,
down the
George.
stoop onto the sidewalk, right to the right was this pizza joint that was about the size of my game room. And they had great pizza. I mean,
That's
now
good.
I'm not one of these idiots that's going to be like, New York pizza is the best pizza ever in the whole world and blah, blah, blah. Those guys. I'm not that like that. But it was very convenient to be able to go down and grab a slice for like $1 and change, So, yeah, I liked it. I liked Queens. But then again, I didn't live in Jamaica. That was across the way. Where I lived was, didn't live, visited. Where my pops lived was a quiet, predominantly Jewish neighborhood. And like a block over was all Irish and Swedes. But that's 30, 40 years ago. The last time we were up there, it was like all Korean or something.
Oof. Wow.
Hey, that's how New York is. The neighborhoods change quick. You got like the Russians uptown where the Irish used to be.
It's just like cycling gentrification, huh?
It's basically like people immigrate to America. They live in New York for a while, say a couple generations, and then they move somewhere. Someone moves somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And then like the next lineup of immigrants moves where they were. So now like Little Italy is little, China, and well, there was already a little China. We went to a great Chinese restaurant. You have to actually go down an alley and then go in a door and then go downstairs. So the place is basically in a basement.
The funny thing is, China is now little China.
Oh, do you hear that? I mean, this is sad, really, I think. But people are saying the Chinese have been lying about the death toll over there and that they think that 300 million Chinese people died.
No, I think you get this wrong. I heard that their birth rate wasn't high, so now they have
Well,
like
the birth rate's
300
always
million.
been the suck.
Yeah. Now they have like they've been lying about the amount of people there. They only have like 300 million.
Or they're yeah, it's like empty cities everywhere.
Oh yeah, It's not like
Well,
India.
I've told you the story before, OGG, but basically, daughter's birthday. Well, happy birthday to your daughter. Um, because my pop come from a broken home, and back in those days, in like the '60s, they were a lot more weird about that sort of thing. None of the Jewish kids that lived in the neighborhood would ever play with him. They weren't allowed, right? So his best friends were the Irish guys, uh, a couple blocks down, and he and those guys got in a lot of trouble, but because they'd be out doing, ruggish, thuggish shit, and then like one time they were out doing something they shouldn't have been doing, and the Irish kid got caught, but my pops got away. And the NYPD, man, they put it on him to try and get him to give up, who was with him. And he didn't, because
I want to put that up.
according to my pops, had he got
Oh, that.
had he ratted my pops out, his dad, the Irish guy's dad, Mickey or whatever his name was, I don't remember, would have whipped his ass like big time, right? Because, and that's something my
Oh, here
pop
it is.
said. It's like the Irish guys back in those days, the '60s, they wouldn't rat on anyone for anything. None of them were snitches. It was like good luck. They weren't telling you shit ever. So yeah, as a one could say half breed, he kind of hung out because my dad's dad was an Irish merchant Navy guy, merchant Marine, but his mother was a Russian Jewish lady. And then when they split up, caused issues. But uh, you know, yeah. So he hung out with the Irish guys and got in trouble, and a lot of the people from his neighborhood looked down on him and didn't have much use for him, but he didn't care, because he was out just doing his thing. So and then that's the man that raised me and my brother. Except my brother acts a lot more like him than I do. Accused of being in the Irish mob. Late night stream. Hey Deckard, how you doing? I hope you're not frying too much down there in Tejas. Um, I don't know. I was pretty like amped up after the Double D stream, and I was like, and plus I got a bunch of these orcs that 3D printed that are still on the freaking
Spews.
sprue.
Yeah.
And I thought, I might as well pull some stuff off the sprue. I 3D printed some. Yeah, get some sleep, bro. I mean, Reveille comes quick, right? That guy's a fellow army guy. Us old grunts gotta stick together. You know how it is. But anyway, I just had a lot of stuff on my desk that I haven't really been dealing with because I spent all morning today at the dentist getting my teeth cleaned and all that, which, I mean, on the one hand, I'm glad that I can do it, that I've got the insurance. My wife has the insurance so that I can get that stuff done.
I wish I could. I have to go pretty far away to get anybody who takes my insurance.
Yeah. On the other hand, it's the dentist, which sucks.
Yeah.
I
haven't been there in a while.
I mean, the dentist where I go, they're always super cool to me and my wife.
And when I say a while, I mean like what? Over 10 years?
Wow, man. You might, well, I mean, it depends. As long as you take care of stuff, you'll probably be all right, maybe. The thing with is because of her insurance, which since she works for a medical insurance company, she gets pretty decent insurance. I get, cleanings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
for me, I probably have to go back now because I had this bottom bracket on my bottom back teeth that was there for like over a decade now, and it finally came out.
Mm-hmm.
I had pulled it out myself.
Well, that's not good.
Well, I had to. It was kind of digging into my tongue and was annoying.
I would think so. Yeah. Yeah. But that's what I was up to today. And then I made a couple of videos just cause. And then I decided if I'm going to sit here and pull these things apart, I might as well troll around and see who's doing what. So that's the whole story there.
Yeah, I mean,
Your wife was 62 when she got her first cavity. Jeesh.
hey, I was just playing some vintage story not too long ago.
That's amazing. Amazing. No, that's really good. And not melting, thankfully. Well, good for you, man. It's like 100 degrees here today, so
Yeah, it's only starting to get pretty warm here.
yeah, but
Pretty warm
well,
for
I
us.
don't know how it is where you are, but my mom says it's getting pretty warm during the day, but then the temperature drops down into the 70s every night. So,
Yeah, that's how it is.
well, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, to me, that's okay because if it's hot during the day, whatever. If you're out doing stuff, you'll be fine, right?
Yeah, it's
But
not like it gets absurdly hot.
right, and it's not like when you go to bed at night, if you don't have AC, you're sweating through your sheets and stuff, right?
Not yet, at least.
See,
Not
when I
unless
was
I play a
younger,
very taxing game on my computer.
uh-oh. When I was younger, the house my grandparents had down here was one of those old, like, they call them shotgun houses or shotgun shack. Because if you open the front door, you can see right down to the back door. Messing around with AI Vader in Fortnite. Yeah, I hear AI Vader's a little spicy in Fortnite, but all
I
right.
wonder. Uh,
Yeah, I heard he was calling people all kinds of slurs and everything like that.
that's
AI
great.
Vader's out there like being a straight up racist and stuff.
Just dropping the M bomb.
Just
You
dropping
know the
all
one
of
I'm
it.
talking about.
Yeah, just being all like
Nuclear.
just going nuclear on people's.
Oh no,
But
no. I liked it when Trump was like that one Fox News thing, and he goes to the N word. You know the one I'm talking about, and Fred's on there like,
oh, Brett Bears looking like he didn't know whether to run or shit himself.
yeah,
He's just sitting there like, is the president of the United States getting ready to drop an N-bomb? It's like, whoo! I'll tell you what, Nuxenor calls President Trump the content commander in chief,
yeah,
and he is.
yeah.
Like what he did to the president of South Africa today. Oh, brutality. And then after he got done doing that, the way he handled that reporter that tried to talk shit, just told him he sucked. He's a horrible reporter.
Yeah.
Need to give up on it. Just no
Well,
good.
every time you see the media, every time you see them, you know you don't hate them enough.
Yeah, you don't hate them enough. They need to be hated more. But yeah, the South African president was trying to preach about, oh, when the president hears, he'll understand. None of that's happening. And Trump's just like, lower the lights, start showing the movies and shit, and then started flipping the page. Family killed, family killed, family horribly killed. And the guy's sitting there, the president of South Africa, looked like he wanted to jump out of a damn window.
Yes.
That's pretty much what happened, Daryl. The president of South Africa tried to pretend that there was no genocides going on in South Africa, and Trump turned the movie on, had everybody in the place watching all the films of all the crazy shit going on, and then started holding up obituaries and showing pictures of like 1,000 graves from Boers that had been murdered in the last, year or so. And what's funny is the NBC reporter, his immediate question was, so anyway, that jet that Qatar gave you. And Trump's like, you are a horrible reporter. We're
You
sitting
are
here talking about people dying, and that's the question you want to ask? And he's like, and you guys are trying to say it's a bribe? He's like, they didn't give it to me. They gave it to the Air Force. I mean, what do you want, right? And and he started name dropping the guys that reporter works for. He's like, you need to go back to NBC or whoever it was and tell so and so and so and so that they need to change some stuff up over there because you suck. It's like, wow. And little Marco Rubio, who has had his character arc has been really crazy. That senator or congressman that went to El Salvador to have lunch with the one guy. He told Marco, he's like, I regret voting for you to be the blah 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 whatever Marco is. And Marco's like, well, the fact that you regret voting for me to do this job just means I'm doing a good job. It's like, Marco, like gangsta
No
shit
chill,
over
man.
here, just told him. And then the guy tried to get mad, but the guy running the meeting was like, it's not your time. Shut up.
Not your time. Shut up.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, Marco Rubio just called him a piece of shit right to his face, basically. So I was like, yeah, and he hands him the pile of all the murdered people off grid. He did, yeah, absolutely. And some of them he was flipping through and showing pictures. And the president of South Africa looked like he wanted to jump out a window and run, but there was nowhere for him to go. It was like, where are you going? Nowhere. And here's what tweaks me out more than anything. And it makes me think bad things. And I don't like thinking bad things, guys. I like being a positive kind of guy. But why are so many people on a particular side so mad that 30 or 40 people from South Africa came to America, and yet they seem to have zero problems with the millions that illegally crossed over the last 4 years? And it's like, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I don't want to sound like that guy, but I'm starting to think there might be a racial element to this.
There's definitely a racial element to this.
But I don't want to think that there is, but I'm
You don't want to,
really
but
think that there is.
There is. I mean, there was
I
that
know
one black lady
my
on
niece
like
who is half black does
no.
not give a damn.
No.
But some of these people, it's like
it's a certain group of
it's
people.
racism to let 30 people in from a country where
people,
they're actively being hunted down and killed.
Yeah, because they're white.
And it's so crazy too, right? It's like people in South Africa are still talking about apartheid, and other people talk about apartheid, right? But the laws on the book that the Black South African government have put in place are even more repressive than the actual laws that were in place during apartheid. It's so wild, man. It's like white people aren't allowed to do business in South Africa. Of course, they're trying to make an exception for Elon. Oh, and when the South African president was in the room, Elon Musk was standing there just fucking him the whole time.
Yeah.
Because Elon's family had to flee South Africa. You know what I mean? Because they were going to kill him.
Yeah.
So they literally had to flee South Africa to avoid, being murderated. And that guy's going to sit there in front of Elon and be like, oh, no, it's great in South Africa for the Boers. Elon's like, nah, nobody was having it. Everybody is like, I don't know, this new administration, it's like they just roll in and put everybody on notice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, I think because Big T, Big D Tizzle knows he can't be elected again, even though he said he might run a third time. I think because he knows this is it for him, he has just got no F's to give anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, the president of South Africa had that. Oh shit, I've been caught. You know what I mean? Yeah, that dude knew he had done effed up. They had all those guys dancing around on the stage like a bunch of freaking savages screaming, "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer," blah 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 blah. It's like, really?
They didn't learn anything from Zimbabwe doing this.
Right. And Zimbabwe was nice because honestly, if you read the history of the war in Rhodesia, they were kicking the shit out of the communist rebels who were the black guys. They were all Marxists. And the Rhodesian army, which is what Zimbabwe used to be called, Rhodesia and Rwanda was right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were whipping the shit out of them. And then one day they just said, okay, fine, we'll just give you your shit back. And like within a week, Zimbabwe's printing like a $10 billion bill because their economy tanked so freaking hard and they're starving to death and begging people. Yeah, apartheid was. And the other thing, and you know who said this today, and it surprised me a little bit. And I don't know why, but it did. Jeremy Hambley, the quartering, pointed out in one of his shows that there was nothing in South Africa before the Dutch and the British showed up. Nothing.
Yep.
And no one. Like none of the African tribes that now claim South Africa actually lived there because the place was a desolate hellhole where nothing grew. And then the Dutch showed up and started irrigating and growing and stuff. And these different tribes, the Zulu and the one that starts with the X, Xhosa and all that, they migrated in, right? During you guys know, you've seen the movie Zulu Dawn and all that shit. That's when all that was going on, right? So then Clinton forces the apartheid government, which was nowhere near as bad as the current South African government.
Talking about South Africa though, and the Dutch. Did you see that one CNN lady who tried to say they should go back to wherever they came from? Like Germany or something.
Yeah, the black lady.
Yeah.
Saying on news that these should go where they come from. It's like, lady, are you sure you want to go down that road? Because Abraham Lincoln was trying his best to deport as many of the former slaves as he could before he got killed. That's why the country of Liberia exists. Well, here is the thing. Someone posted the meme OGG, and it showed all the South African farmer families standing there waving American flags. Yeah, well, okay. Say there was some Bushmen running around, but I mean, I get what you're saying. But and then you see third generation immigrants from like Mexico or wherever holding Mexican flags and screaming in the streets. And it's like something ain't right here, It's like, I don't want it to be this way. And I honestly, and I hope nobody thinks I'm making threats or anything. I'm not. But all of these, like, black guys and stuff like that are talking shit about a race war, they don't want that. I can tell them. They don't want that smoke. Most dangerous person in the world is the guy that just wants to be left alone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically most Americans. Most Americans just want to be left alone. We want to drink our Yingling, if you have good taste at least.
No, Jim
and
Beam.
Maybe, eat some wings, watch some sports ball, play some D&D.
Find some good wings anymore.
Right? But you get what I'm saying, watch the sports ball, play D&D, whatever you're into. That's kind of what we want. And we want to be left alone.
It's why I choose to live in the middle of nowhere.
Right. And it's like, people don't seem to understand that when the people who just want to be left alone start getting pissed off, that's when like all hell breaks loose in a country. It's not a good thing ever. So, Jose, what's up, homie? Yeah, that's why my pop's family had to flee Russia, was because they were, as the fancy, super educated Marxists would say, kulaks. And the Bolsheviks, of course, wanted to kill all the kulaks because they needed someone to be the scapegoat for all the bullshit. And the kulaks were the ones. So you go to some poor guy who doesn't have much of anything for whatever reason, and you tell him the reason he don't have anything is because the other guy has it all, and it's unfair. And that's how you get people to murder each other. Pantera, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like Pantera. They're pretty good. Vulgar Display of Violence was I dated a chick. Believe it or not, I've dated chicks before, right? But I dated this one kind of crazy chick, and every night when we went to bed, that was the album she put on. Vulgar Display of Violence. And every night when that song came on, my ass would wake up. Because you're sitting there sleeping, having a great time, and all of a sudden you hear someone scream, fist, skull, break. And I'm like, yeah. But anyway, yeah. Razor Fist actually prefers their earlier stuff when they were more hair metal, more melodic. If you haven't seen it, go back and look at Razor Fist's full category of like where he talks about rock and roll. And he has a whole thing on Pantera, like how they become Pantera, all of it. And it's really cool. Yeah, they're not the ones that migrated in and started demanding shit, right? And that is the thing. That is definitely a thing. If you were a Boer or a British guy, farmer in South Africa, and say there's a million of you, and then all of a sudden 10 million other people move in, and everyone wants everything to be all democratic, well, you're screwed right then. Demographics has just screwed you because the 10 million people who just moved in can outvote you. So you're screwed, right? That's why if you want to exist as culture, you have to reproduce. Doesn't Reagan say that to Father Carroll when he tells him, if you're the devil, just make the traps disappear? Yeah. Having dinner, then homework follows. Happy problem. Studying is good. I'm glad you're having fun with it. I hated studying, Jose. I I am the worst kind of student because I'm easily bored by school. Now, when I went to fire academy, I didn't have that problem at all. When I went through EMT, I didn't have the problem of boredom because, yeah, Pat Buchanan was right, you know, but it's just the way of the world. It's not even like what I'm talking about. It has nothing to do with morality. It has nothing to do with ethics. It has nothing to do with good or evil. It's like a wolf eating a rabbit. It's just the way it is. And, so, if a culture is not willing to reproduce to continue to exist, then you kind of got to wonder if they even deserve to exist. One of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of panda bears. Because, I
Because
mean, come on, guys.
they have no drive to do anything.
Right. I mean, you don't even have enough gumption to mount your mate and maybe knock her up. You just want to sit around on your fat ass eating bamboo all day.
Well, bamboo's not really that great for pandas.
I know, but you get what I'm saying, though. Oh, get a degree in the contract. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, well, I'll put in a word or two when I do my prayers tonight. That you have as easy of a time as possible getting that degree out of the way. And I hope that doesn't offend you. Know that it comes from a good place in my heart. Um, but yeah. So watching the South African president squirm was funny. Um, and now the gaming, like Coco, I mean, yeah, I'm not telling you not to watch that guy. Watch him if you want to. But yeah, he comes off as the kind of guy I'd never want to game with. I
There's
mean,
there's
I've
people that
said
you want to
worse
game with. Then
about him, but
there's
yeah,
people that you want to game with, and then there's the people you want to just watch from afar.
yeah. Well, that's why there's no big Pomeranians anymore because they stopped breeding them. Because the original Pomeranian, which was from what's now Poland and Vinland and all that, got to be about 45, 50 pounds. They were work dogs. They pulled sleighs or sleds. And somebody decided to breed them down and make them, lap dogs. And that's kind of where they ended up. Part German, Swiss, Italian, French. All the farmer pieces. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Like when you play Carcassonne and you try to get the farms. Yeah, that's good stuff. Put your bishop on the monastery and then try to block. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm talking board game stuff, but yeah, I'm not saying I hate the guy, but I do think that him putting out a video trying to argue that wokeness does not exist is very, very intellectually dishonest when you can observe, like I said in my video, he's basically saying, believe what I say and ignore your lying eyes.
Yep.
And it's like, no. Mm-mm. Not that I'm trying to pull a Tracy Morgan over here, but that's how I'm feeling. I'm like, nope. Nope. And that's kind of what he's doing, There's no such thing as woke Indian. It's like, get the hell out of here, right? And again, the video was short, but it's like, it's always
Kane lives.
What?
Kane lives.
Kane. I always played the forces of what were they called? Disciples of Cain?
Oh, you're talking. Which one is this in 3 or
The original?
It's just Brotherhood.
The Brotherhood, yeah. At the
not,
very end, you got to choose which capital city you wanted to nuke.
Yep.
That's the good stuff. I always nuke Paris.
Nuke Paris.
Yeah, always. Paris, always. Boom, gone.
I forgot what was considered canon.
I think it was you could nuke London, Washington, D.C., or Paris, and I always picked Paris.
Yeah, you get to choose between like the White House, the Big Ben, the Eiffel Tower, and what was it? I think it was the one arch in Germany or something like that. It was.
Oh, the Brandenburg Gate, maybe?
Yeah, the Brandenburg Gate.
Because, I mean, when I think German landmarks, that's the only one that rings
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
George, that is how I am. Set him up. Yeah, right. The Hague won't do shit. Exactly. That would have been something, but and I am the same way with Carcassonne. I will try to make a map that makes sense and looks pretty more than actually try to win the game. And I blame the fact that I'm a DM. I think that's what it is. Like the dungeon master in me is looking at this map, and I'm just like, yeah, we got to make a map that looks cool. We can't have, this thing with like gaps and freaking open spots all over the place, fill it in, right? But it's a good game.
Yeah, I prefer GDI in the original, but that's mainly because of the mammoth tank. Just the broken mammoth tank.
So, you're one of those kind of players.
Can you blame me?
I never had a problem winning with Brotherhood of Nod. I especially like when you get the tech tree up and you start being able to build those freaking Tesla towers or whatever they are.
It was what was it? They're not Tesla towers. They're the lasers that stick out the. I need to figure what they were called because I cannot remember, even though I should know it.
Well, it was a black tower, and if anything got near it, it zapped it. Blah.
Yeah, that was like the most powerful defensive. Structure.
And in those kind of games, a lot of times, like when I used to play online against all my friends and stuff, we used to play Age of Empires 2, and we played the castle version where you start a game with the castle and a king. Regicide, that's what it was called. And the whole point was to try to kill your opponent's king.
Okay, let me see here.
So if you could figure out a way to get to his castle and take the king out, even if he had like
Obelisk of
everything else.
Light, that was it.
What?
The Obelisk of Light.
Right. No matter what, that would be it. You would win. And I usually played the Byzantines or the Knights Templar. And my brother played the British or the Byzantines, but sometimes the Persians.
I technically only played one SimCity before, and that was on the DS.
I like SimCity. I remember the original one on like the NES where it was just blocks.
Yeah, I never got to play those.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And
the only one I played was on the DS, which was kind of cool and fun. And I mean, it worked fine.
The last one I played, the one thing I remember being like, that's kind of wild is like, you put in sewer lines, you put in freaking subways. I mean, SimCity started getting really into the detail.
Yeah, but I mean, it's been overshadowed by City Skylines now, it seems.
Has it?
Yeah, City Skylines has way more to it and is actually a better city builder.
Well, I can show you guys this. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but I'll try. This is Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows. And for those of you who don't know, that's a series about a bunch of vampires being idiots in Staten Island. Oh. And Guillermo is one of the vampires, Nandor the Relentless. It's his, what do you call it? Not ghoul, but his servant. Except Guillermo's also, or Guillermo is also related to the Van Helsing. So deep in his blood, he just kills vampires.
I wish I still had SimCity DS now.
And I don't know what channel it's on, but if you have access to What We Do in the Shadows, the series, not the movie, pretty funny. I mean, some of the humor is a little crude. I wouldn't watch it with kids, but yeah, it's pretty funny. Pretty funny stuff, the trials and tribulations of being a vampire in Staten Island. So, especially since they were sent to America to take over, and they've been in America for like 300 years and they haven't conquered anything. And like one of the boss vampires shows up and he's like, what can you say for yourself? What have you managed to conquer? And one guy's like, well, I'm pretty sure we conquered down to the end of the next block. Yeah. And they're just like, and then Guillermo accidentally,
Well,
catches
Decker,
that guy on
let
fire.
me ask you: does the modern SimCity even have anything special to it anymore? It's
You know
sad
what?
that they've actually stripped down SimCity and then made it online only or something else like that.
Yeah, that's stupid. I hate if a game says can only be played if you have internet, I am immediately not wanting to. Oh, his neighbors, yeah, they're great. Except the one guy, they've like erased his memory so much. He's starting to like, because every time you erase somebody's memory, they lose just a little bit more of whatever they were. So yeah. But that's like Laszlo's best friend. I don't even play the modern one. The problem with the Sims, whether it's Sim Cities, it has rainbow parades now. Well, that's great. Whether it's Sim City, The Sims, etc., is that they all hit their peak in the 90s. Honestly, what else are you going to add? You know what I mean? You put
I mean,
streets down and you
you
zone
could
places.
modernize it a little bit, but yeah, at a certain point, you're just going to get to a point where it's just like you really don't have much.
Well, I told you the story of when I used to play Sims, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I worked my ass off to become a firefighter.
Just so you can play a game.
Trained and shit. I played that game for hours. Hey, Shadow, the link's somewhere. And if you can't find it, I'll
And then you play a game and to become a firefighter like you are in real life.
Well, think that way, except reverse it. I was already a firefighter. And then I got Sim City and
that's what
spent
I'm saying.
hours trying to make my character in the game a firefighter.
Like, why?
And then one day I'm sitting there playing the game. My character's at the gym working out and shit. And I'm just like, the fuck am I doing?
What the fuck am I doing? I do this for real life.
It's like, I already do this every third day. I mean, and I never played it again. And that's been 15 years. But Shadow and Sun, even though it's probably just Shadow.
Probably
Sun is probably
in Sims, where we basically turned it into a torture.
Well, I mean, you could do that if you were that kind of guy. Yeah. The whole lock everybody, build a pool and then have everybody go in the pool and then freaking remove the ladder and everybody drowns. And
I would test the game in weird ways.
They turn into ghosts and then they haunt your house.
I did different torture tests. Like, I would try to build houses in the most minimalistic ways, but try to maximize the happiness or something like that.
Well, I mean, that's what you should be doing, right?
Well, I don't know. I just see it as like, hey, I'm going to put this person basically into a box and see how long I can keep them alive.
I 3D printed this basilisk. It'll be easy to paint since they're mostly just really dark black or brown. So, but yeah, the other day when the characters, one of them got killed by the Draculists and stuff, it kind of reminded me that I had no basilisks. And that's a creature I might want to have, just like this guy. I think I have some of these already, but Umber Hulks. Because, I mean, if your players are running around in the Underdark doing stupid shit, then, you got to have your Umber Hulk. I mean, that's just the way it is,
Oh, well, talking about that last session that we've had some... Well, most of the other players had something interesting. I couldn't talk still. My barely alive character... Yeah, my barely alive character couldn't talk.
Yeah. After they managed to get the one character raised, well, not raised, but turned back to flesh, the players are all like, I think we should leave here and go back to town for a while. And they're like, yeah, okay. And now I don't think they're going to go back. I think they've decided that once they get to town, they're just staying or going somewhere else. They're not going back to the dungeon, which is unfortunate because if they survive to get to the main treasure,
Was there going to be some good stuff down there?
well, there's an artifact which I'm not too whatever about. But what I think is really awesome that's down there is there's a bunch of the manuals from like AD&D. So, like the manual of gainful exercise, if you
Nice.
study it for a month, you get +1 to your strength. And there's a manual of health and a manual of intellect. There's like
Yep.
4 or 5 of the manuals down there.
Damn.
And that is some major heavy duty
Yeah, that's good. That's good
stuff,
stuff.
especially in like old school D&D when you just don't get to add,
+2 or +1
a
to your
bonus
stats all
every
the
couple
time.
levels or whatever. Look at this guy. What up, homie?
Hey, what's happening, man? Hey, question for you.
Answer.
Do you like
42.
the new insectoid looking Umber Hulk, or do you like the classic Earl Otis better?
I think based on the miniatures I used stone from Ralpartha,
Yeah.
that I kind of like the old one better, like that's illustrated in D1 and 2. Where it looks almost like an 8, but it's got the
It's more round and bulbous as opposed to all, cockroachy.
Now, hey, I got an idea. If we want to
Yeah.
make this a fair exchange, maybe we could have the Umber Hulk with the gorilla-like
What's up?
body and more insect-like limbs to make it even creepier.
Anyway, the Umber Hulk I have is a lot more, the STL I have is a lot more like the classic.
Hold on a second.
But there are STLs for the one that looks basically like some kind of weird insect beast thing. How you doing, Jose?
We could go half and half and make it look like some kind of evil experiment gone wrong.
Using the camera.
And not Umber Hulks, but in Lamentations of the Flame. Well, no, actually, it was one of Zach Sabbath's things. The hooked horrors were actually like humans that had been tortured near to madness and then had steel hooks, like they'd had their hands cut off and had big steel hooks implanted in their forearms. And then they were just let go to run amok. That's not the one I had. The one I had was littler.
Yeah, this one I think is a Superior Models version.
But it's
I've
cool
only
because you got to make the saving thrower be dazed to buy it and shit.
Confused. Yep. Because I finally figured it out. What it is it's got 2 sets of eyes. And one is
off-grid, yeah. Off-grid
Insect-
probably owns the one I'm talking about because I owned the Ralpartha Umber Hulk.
Uh-huh.
And it was small because remember Ralpartha miniatures were all 25 mil.
Yeah.
So like the troll was barely the size of a space marine, but they were great miniatures. I mean, Ralpartha started
puts some
making
good stuff
miniatures
out.
when he was like 14.
I owned or own almost everything that was ever made in lead, and when I saw the new Wizards of the Coast Umber Hulk, I was just like, "What the shit is this?" It's a cool looking monster, but like the Aboleth. If you remember the way the old one looked, it had like those weird eyes that were like
across the front.
The big black, like windshields almost.
Yeah.
And then they made the new one, and it looks nothing like that. The same with the Umber Hulk. I like the old stuff. It wasn't broke. Why do you got to change it? Because dumb reasons.
Because
they want to sell more stuff.
Either somebody said that doesn't look realistic enough, or someone said, "Hey, we want to sell miniatures."
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I
Jose,
think that if they made them just like the old ones, but maybe a little scarier in the pose and the demeanor, as opposed to completely changing it, it would have done just fine. Yeah, the Raw Partha Blue line was phenomenal.
I wish I hadn't got rid of them, but I did. But back in the 90s, I had a shit ton of the Raul Partha 15 mil figures
Oh, really?
for battle system because they sold.
Yeah.
It was the whole line was Raul Partha battle system,
Hmm.
and each pack would have like 10 cavalry or 20 infantry or whatever,
Hmm.
and it was like elf cavalry, orc infantry. It was just generic, but
Yeah, it was a mind you, back then in the metal days, everything was incredibly affordable, and it was always like a really good bargain. You'd get a bunch of crap. Even the old Heritage line, which I'm a huge fan of, you'd get four minis for 350. And they were really fun sculpts, but two 99, 350 for a pack of four. You'd save up a little bit of lunch money or whatever, go grab a pack, and by the time you're done painting them, you'd probably scraped up enough money. You'll get another pack.
well, I'm one of those guys that can say that I actually played the original battle system with the box set
I had it too. I
battles
played it as well.
multiple times.
Yeah,
Because me and my brother used to play that shit all the time with chits, and then
yep.
when we got actual miniatures, we just glue the miniatures on the cardboard chit because
Nice. Yeah,
oh,
we
nice! Look at that, a Goliath. Yeah, I had to pick up this pack mainly for the Scorpion. I mean, it's got a Jaeger mech, a Sentinel, and a I'm not sure what in hell that is. Looks like maybe a trebuchet. Yeah. But I really just wanted the one thing. What is that? I can see the box, but I can't see.
What's up,
This
George?
is the inner sphere security lance. So,
Yeah, the glare is killing the
yeah, the
image.
glare, you can't. Well, I haven't even opened them. Now, this guy,
What's up, Jose?
this is the pursuit lance, and I had to get this just so I could get the Clint and the Dervish. And even though the Dervish ain't one of my top pick mechs at 55 tons, it's still a good mech. And it's a mech that I have used multiple times. So we'll just say that. But anyway, yeah, the old Raul Partha stuff, and they made the original Valtech stuff too. Raul
Yeah,
Partha
they
did.
did. And you know what's really weird? You can still get blister packs of the lead or whatever it was. I'm pretty sure it was lead blister packs of BattleTech for like a decent price, like maybe 10, 15, $20 for a metal mech mini. And I hear who bought Iron Winds, who was still putting them out.
Iron
Uh,
Winds was bought by Catalyst.
okay, that's probably why, because you could get a non-lead version from them from Iron Winds for a little bit more money, but they weren't going anywhere. They weren't going to rot like lead would eventually. And for those of you who like a heavy miniature, I get it if you're traveling with them and you got like 40 mechs in a travel case. That's going to be kind of heavy. But
Well,
if
I
you're not
mean,
going anywhere,
like I told you, I put all of my metal Valtech mechs in a army tote, with and it weighed 55 pounds. Yep, that's the one I needed. And I'll paint it up in desert colors, just like in Dugram. But because
it's a, now
I have hundreds of Ralph Partha miniatures. Yep, same set. Yep. So I went online, and the 86 variant of the Marauder, the one that looks like a walking egg,
mhm.
people are trying to sell that thing for like 50 or $60, and I have 8 of them.
Really?
Like the really crappy one that had the super thin AC5 that always bent, and it just looks like an egg. With the, I mean, it's the worst venture ever, right? But some people, I have a 25 Grenadier Umber Hulk.
I've got that one too, Coco. I think I
Yeah,
still have it
Grenadier put them
sealed.
out, and then Partha took over. What in the hell? Oh, that's what's her name? Evelyn. I used to be a He-Man geek a long time ago.
I never got into it. It was like I just missed that whole phase.
It was a little
Plus,
before my
You would
time.
have been a little older,
yeah,
but one year my mom bought me like Castle Grayskull and a shit ton of He-Man, and bought Haas like a shit ton of GI Joes. And then me and my brother would play war games against each other, He-Man versus GI Joe.
uh-huh.
And this is when we were like 10. Who
Sure.
knew that I was going to grow up and become a GI Joe, and my brother was going to grow up and become Skeletor? Basically, I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
So,
Now I remember Thundercats a lot.
Malachi, like
I'm
GI
more I'm
Joe.
more of a Thundercats guy. I never really watched it, but if I was gonna watch one of the three, I'd probably watch Thundercats more than I would He
You
Man,
know
and
what made me really
maybe
like Thundercats, dude?
What?
Um, when I realized that the Thundercats had actually crashed on Earth, and that Mumra was an actual mummy from Earth, and that all of his minions were mutants,
Oh,
and it was post-apocalyptic and all that kind of shit. So in my mind, Thundercats become like Gamma World.
I was gonna say Thunder the Barbarian.
See, he's got his So yeah, it was
Nice,
basically
nice.
just
I had
Gamma
I had
World.
one of those. We had found it. I don't know where, like in the yard or something. Some kid dropped it or something, and it ended up becoming part of our D&D games somehow. Like we would start the game with whatever the voice, the little button, you pushed
Thunder,
it, it would say
Thunder,
something. I forget what it was.
Thundercats! Oh!
Snarf,
How
that
about
guy.
Transformers?
Snarf. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah,
Transformers.
he needed to die.
I had Transformers, and my favorite Transformer of all was Soundwave.
Soundwave.
Hell yeah, Soundwave
Yeah.
was so cool. Like in the cartoon, when he talked, he sounded like a synthesizer, and he
Yeah.
had like the wolf or the raven he could shoot out. Yeah,
The
Optimus
most loyal
Prime.
Decepticon.
Yeah,
Yeah, I heard
yeah.
that
They
too.
tried to
That's
get
right
the
too,
Conan
Malky.
license and failed. I'd heard that. Yeah,
To be fair, Soundwave was the most loyal Decepticon in the series.
yeah, yeah. I think he
Loyal to
was
what?
actually working
To
for.
Megatron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was loyal to Megatron, but I think on the DL he was working for the main.
How do you dare to challenge Starscream?
Yeah, Starscream was always trying to challenge, but is always getting his ass whipped. He'd be like,
in one of
"I'm
the
going to
comics,
take over," and no, I'm not.
Gotta admit though, Starscream was a badass name.
yeah,
That was a badass name.
Oh,
in one of the
was cool,
comics, he
too.
actually does get what he wants, and then he's like, "Oh, this is not what I wanted."
He's a big freaking fighter jet. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, Megatron was kind of lame as shit because at the end of the day, he was just like
Our buddy Cal just
He
painted that
turns
one
into
up.
a gun. Yeah.
Jose,
Oh
Cal
yeah.
Cal just painted his up. It looks pretty sweet, but it looks kind of tiny as well.
Well, it's not open. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm just thinking the Dice Tower from the
Yeah,
new board
because
game.
that one, if that's the one I had, it opens up and it had like an elevator in it and like a dungeon, like Conan the Adventurer. Well, I will tell you this: I did see the Conan cartoon, and I did watch very recently on Tubi, I think, the Conan series that had like Arnold Schwarzenegger's workout buddy in it. I forget his name, but he played Conan, and it's cheesy as shit, but I mean, I still kind of liked it. So, it's kind of lame though. Who cares? Who cares? It was good. I liked it. Cows is for the one game. Yeah. I think
The game
that
put out by Archon Studios, the board game.
Malachi was showing the OG Castle Greyhawk, but there is a He-Man miniature war game that came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, by Archon Studios.
Right.
And there was also, believe it or not, and I have some of them, only because I wanted the big cats. Grenadier Models put out 2 sets of He-Man lead miniatures. They were really goofy looking, and I sold them for a bundle. But I kept the big giant riding cat because I could just put other mounted miniatures on it because it was just freaking.
Well, you had War Cat, and I don't know what Skeletor called his cat.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell they were called either.
Battle Cat and something else.
Yeah, it was. If you threw a dwarf on there or a barbarian, it's going to look pretty badass.
Right. I mean, He-Man was pretty cool.
Nah, I just couldn't get into it. It was a little too. I don't know.
The only thing I didn't like about He-Man is I didn't like the Prince Adam thing. I didn't understand.
And I recently did watch.
Battle Cat. Yeah.
I actually watched the movie with Dolph Lundgren for the very first time about a year and a half ago, and I got to admit it wasn't awful, but I don't think I'll ever watch it again.
Yeah, it's Dolph Lundgren and G.I. Jane.
Demi Moore? Really?
Yeah, Demi Moore played G.I. Jane.
No, I knew that, but it didn't strike me as, oh, that was Demi Moore.
That was Demi Moore when she was like very young. Panther. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a very young Demi Moore, and I think Skeletor might have been Michael Ironside. Not sure.
I thought it was what's his name from the Ninth Gate and what was the other one? Cutthroat Island. Franklin.
Could be.
I thought it was like somebody bigger who played Skeletor. Franklin Jella had a freaking amazing career, and he's one of those guys who could play like so many completely different parts that you.
That's his name, Rolf Moeller. He's actually way. Oh, look at that! Cool. He's actually way bigger than Arnold is.
Is that 3D printed?
I think that's from the board game.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, they put out like a war game with men.
Yeah, Archon Studios puts out the best shit, guys. If you're not picking up some of their stuff, go take a look.
Look, I want figures of Cadillacs and dinosaurs.
That's
my
easy.
god, dude! I so wanted to get that. I that's been on my list of things to get was the old comics, but man, those are freaking expensive. But the RPG is like $20.
Yeah, that's what I was going to tell Leth. If you want Cadillacs and dinosaurs, take your ass to Hobby Lobby, buy some dinosaurs, and buy some
cars,
Cadillacs, and you're done.
Oh, and James, I found a copy of Talaslanta for $13.
The new one?
No.
Here's the thing. The Cadillacs and Dinosaurs cartoon is actually
1989 version.
Nice. That's a good. I mean, the rules never really changed. The game is 100%. You roll a die 20, add modifiers versus number or other roll with modifiers, and then if you get 6+, it's a minor success, and then like 11+ is a success, and then like 16+ is a greater success, and that's it for everything. Everything in the game is skill based. So if you're playing like a 3 Thrall Warrior with +5 strength and a melee greatsword 2. When you roll your die 20, you add 6. And then whoever you're attacking can roll their die 20 and add their weapon skill and strength or dex, whatever.
Mhm.
And then you compare the numbers, and then whoever won, that's what happens. So, I mean, super simple game. It never changed. I have every edition, and the
Good.
rules never change, except for the one edition where they tried to do 3rd edition D&D rules.
Hey, Malachi, I've got the old Mayfair Mayfair
Nah,
game
get out
version
here
of
with that
City
bullshit.
State. And I've never read it. I just pulled it out of mothballs. I'm going to go over it because someone's putting out a new version. I think Goodman Games. But
What I will say is, okay, Franklin Jella.
yeah,
Oh, well, the Leopard dropship, yeah. City State of
nice.
the yeah, everybody's fighting about that right now. The City State of the Invincible Overlord. Double D did a video on it, and apparently it pissed the guy at the gaming
What
game
is that?
off. And, huh?
What is Jose showing up?
Apollo?
He's just that's
What
Apollo.
is that?
It's
What
a
is
board
that?
game. It's a board game.
Really?
Yes.
There was actually
It's
a
very cheap if you want it in Amazon. It costs like $12 or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Star Frontiers had a module for
I'm gonna have to write
2001
that down.
Space Odyssey.
Yeah, it's a board game. I think you're going to love it because the thing is that this game, the complaints about this game are things that reproduce the real thing in a way. For example, people say, "Oh, I am doing some abstract things that doesn't make sense to pilot something," and indeed, the real astronauts had to do very abstract things with an industrial panel when they were piloting. So basically, that's very real, I would say. So every aspect that can frustrate you from this game is going to be a reproduction of the experience of an astronaut. I can tell you.
Really?
A simplified version of that.
For
Yeah,
ages like 12 and up, kind of thing.
Say again?
For ages like 12 and up.
Yeah, well, you have the comms and you have a limited ability to communicate with the astronauts, which is basically real because you could not send a JPG file with a diagram of what you wanted to do. So basically,
Take care, off grid.
yeah. So I think
Yeah,
you're
take care
going
off
to like
grid.
it.
Yeah,
Stay-
I think I'm
stay
going to
warm.
have to get off here too. I'll see ya.
See you, Leth. Good sleep. Have a good
Take
night.
care, Leth. Yeah, Malachi
Okay.
says he's going to be in just a second.
All right.
I can only stay for a little while longer, but
Yeah.
I hadn't talked to you in a while, and
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Thought
glad
it's
you
something.
dropped in.
So-
I haven't seen Jose.
So
in a
remember, this. Buy it.
Remember this: if you're playing Apollo, Shadow, when you
Mhm.
land on the moon, if you find a Russian lander already there, do not go to it. Under no circumstances, go to it. And also, if you notice the rocks move when you're not watching, get back into the launcher and take off from the place immediately.
Yeah.
I don't know
So-
if you get the reference, but
it sounds like a couple of creepy pastas I've heard.
no, there's an actual movie where the astronauts land and they find a wrecked Russian lander. And then it turns out that on the moon, there's these basically crab creatures because everything's a crab eventually, right? And they look like rocks, but they're crabs. And they start ripping shit through their spacesuits and climbing in their suits and eating them.
Oh, really?
Horrible. Yeah,
the only,
horrible. And basically everybody dies.
yeah, the only complaint is that once you open it, you'll have problems to bring it back to the box again. So basically, you have the
So there's a lot
manual,
of stuff in
you
there.
have the Gemini and the Apollo missions, and you have the control panels, and you have well, this is for the Apollo, and so on and so on. So basically, you're going to have a lot of components here for a very cheap game. have the dice and you have all this. So it's quite a nice pack, I would say.
That's too nerdy even for me.
Yeah, too nerdy. And,
Yeah,
and
I
this
can't.
is,
I
and,
really can't. I really can't comment on that. I mean, I'm surrounded by a room full of freaking the nerdiest shit. If you would have told me like 20, 30, 40 years ago I would be in a room like this, I'd have told you, yeah, you're high.
yeah, remember, if you play that game and something frustrates you, this is going to be frustrating for the astronaut too. Don't worry. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
I
don't.
don't really like being frustrated. I got to tell you though.
No, no, I'm just kidding. What I mean is that people say that it is a very abstract game in some sense, and you have some limitations to communicate, which is basically a reproduction because you in real life you had a very narrow bandwidth,
Yeah.
basically through the voice, and you could not transmit a lot of information with the radio. So basically, it was real, I would say.
Plus,
And what,
yeah, you had the blackout time. Every
yeah,
time the lander went around this other side of the moon, there was you were radio silent
no,
for the whole
and
time.
and you have a time for to transmit and to receive. So basically, you are not able to transmit a lot of information. So that is reproduced very well, and the game is a little bit abstract. It uses dice, and you need to do things,
Sounds
and it's
super nerdy.
very, very nerdy. It is
Like
like for absolute fans of the Apollo, and
like
and I
people
mean.
who like doing vector calculus and stuff like that. They're like, oh,
No,
I love.
you do not need any math.
I
You
know,
know,
but you know what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah, I know that.
Huh.
Everything is simpler.
They're like,
You have
"Eh, I
basically
love this game.
monitoring. Yeah, and it is basically a game that you can enjoy more if you role play mission control and the astronauts. So the
Very cool.
Houston, Houston, hello, Houston. So if you
Nice.
role play that, it is going to be more enjoyable because the rules by themselves are not that very complex, I would say, because the idea is to make a simple game and to represent a very complex task like the Apollo. If
Yeah.
you, well, I have been doing some research about how it was with the real thing, and believe me, it was very complicated to handle that control panel of the real Apollo. So,
Well,
and it,
humans used to be more badass. I
yeah,
mean, we went to the
hmm
moon on
yeah,
a spaceship that was basically made out of aluminum foil and powered
hmm
by a modern day calculator.
yeah, it
And
was
now
aluminum
we have a
foil
hard
and
time
tape.
doing anything. It's like okay,
No,
whatever.
no, and the pilots in real life, people do not understand the role of pilots, and they played an important role because real probes have crashed on the moon
Yeah,
because of problems of landing. The real problems of landing,
yeah.
not this game, but the real problems.
Mhm.
So piloting makes a difference.
Well, that's why they ended up breaking all those girls' hearts a while back.
Yeah,
Because when they landed, they're like, "You're an astronaut," and then like someone from the government was like, "You're not an astronaut." You know what I mean? They're like, in order to be an astronaut, you have to actually do something. Like, you got to be part of
Now,
the mission. You've got to like fly the craft or do something. You know, riding up to, you know what, that line, as they call it, the line to space. 100 kilometers or what? It's not even that high up. Like an SR-71 can get there. You know what I mean? We have stealth jets, like spy jets, that can almost get to that thing and do it all day long. And then Megan Kelly did a thing to make fun of them, where she got all of her friends and they paid for this tour where they go up in like a big C-130 and they fly it in a certain pattern to simulate no gravity. And they're all just bouncing around. No gravity, woo! And they did it just to make fun of Katy Perry and all those idiots because you're an
someone needed to.
astronaut, Katy. It's like, shut up.
Someone needed to. That was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
and insulting.
Oh, the one lady, Oprah's friend, standing there being like, "We took the same path as whoever the astronaut was." Is like, yeah, but he had to fly the damn ship. He could have
Yeah,
died.
they were glorified cargo.
It's like,
Yep.
you ladies. I mean, next they're going to be like, "I'm as
Hey,
much of
hey,
an
hey, hey, hey,
astronaut
hey! Hey,
as
don't be throwing
Gagarin."
that word around. There were no ladies on board.
Well,
They were
anyway,
females.
Yeah,
it's like, look, you're not Gagarin. You're not even whatever the name of the dog was that the Soviets sent up.
Sputnik.
Yeah, you're just a freaking. No, you said it. You said it best, Shadow. Cargo.
Mhm.
They were just cargo.
Yeah, it was all female empowerment, and there was a guy flying the ship.
That's the funny thing. Take up space. The whole ship's being flown by some nerd back on Earth, like remote. It's
And it
like
was thanks to what's his name?
Bezos.
Yeah, it was all because of Bezos. So
Well, the one really plastic-looking Spanish woman is his new main squeeze.
yeah,
And I thought it was hilarious though that the ship that he flew him up there in looked just like a dick. So female empowerment
valid.
is riding the head of a penis 100 kilometers up or something.
so nothing's really changed.
Yeah, I mean at least Elon Musk has the good grace not to make his starships look exactly like dicks. But Bezos' ship, I mean, it looks like a giant sex toy. It is embarrassing. And then when the capsule landed, the girls inside opened the door, and someone ran up and was like, "No, don't open the door yet," and shut the door so that Bezos could walk up with some tool and pretend to open the door or some shit. It's just, I mean, is the dumbest shit ever. My wife and I watched it. My wife just talked so much shit. She's just like, I can't believe these people. I was like, me
I
neither.
can believe them. I'm not even a little surprised.
I actually didn't hear about it until after it happened.
Oh, we watched it, and I was just like, is this happening?
Yeah, I think
Nah,
I had
and
it.
I wasn't whining about the environment and shit like that. I was just like, this is stupid and boring. And no one gives a shit about Katy Perry. She's 40 something years old. I mean,
Thanks, Coco.
Russell Brand has been inside her and then dumped her. So, I mean, I'm sorry, guys. I'm done. I'm done at that point. And I like Russell Brand now. I used to. He was number one on my top 5 people that I would go to jail over. Like, if I saw him, if there was 10 cops watching, I'd still run up and punch him.
And now?
And now I love him. It's like, I don't know, he found God or something. He stopped being a heroin addict. He
literally did find Jesus.
He stopped being just a freaking obnoxious prat.
Yeah, he's seeing a lot of what's going on out there.
And I mean, he's still a hippie. He's still a hippie, though.
Yeah, but I like it because he has the ability to reach people that I don't want to be near, but I still want them to, wake up and smell the coffee, so to speak, and he probably reeks of patchouli a mile away, but I wouldn't punch him. I'd thank him for what he's doing, and
these days, I mean, before YouTube started really censoring him, he was one of the only guys on YouTube telling the truth about anything. And when he would tell you a story, he'd have documents. He'd be like,
that's the big thing.
That was the thing. He didn't just talk shit. He'd be like, this is from, and he'd go over it, and it'd be like,
I'm more of a Crowder fan when it comes to that kind of thing. Crowder has really impressed me over the years. A
lot of people like who they like. I like Russell Brand because he's very reasonable and very almost centrist. It's like he believes in the good things. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he's not a lefty entirely. He's not super right. He's just kind of trying to be.
Well, no, he's an old school lefty who's seen behind the curtain.
The
Yeah.
main thing is I just love his redemption arc. Like I said, how he went from being like this uber left Marxist heroin addict, and now all of a sudden he's like a normal guy. He's got a wife and some kids, chops his own firewood and shit like that. I
Oh,
mean,
really?
yeah.
Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's just, what can you say? He had a great redemption arc. I love redemption arcs.
Me too.
That's kind of
Yeah.
what sold me on Christianity, believe it or not, is the whole,
Okay.
because growing up Jewish, there's no redemption really in Judaism.
I know, right?
You
it's a
do
shame.
what you can do, but redemption's not, it's like, but then, with New Testament, there's actual 15 different redemption arcs just in Matthew, and Boromir in Lord of the Rings, his redemption arc made me cry when I was 13.
Yeah, and
I'm a damn man, but when he fought to the death trying to protect those halflings and the orcs killed him,
Yeah.
I was like literally tears.
And
I
Sean
wasn't
Bean's
yelling like a baby or anything.
Sean
They
Bean's
were manly tears.
portrayal is one of the best parts of the Peter Jackson films.
Mhm.
I do want to make sure that's on record, though, everybody. They were manly tears. Like you
Oh,
can
and Lord of the-
cry
Lord of the
when
Rings
like
has
your
got a lot of
dog
those
dies
moments.
or your mom dies or
Yeah. Oh man.
For me, it was the when Galadriel tempts or
Frodo.
when she freaks out on him.
with the mirror, the mirror,
World will
and he
love me
offers her the ring,
despair.
and she turns it down. I would literally have to walk out of the room when the cartoon version of that was playing. I would have to walk out of the room. It's like, I can't watch this, man.
See, that didn't bother me so much because, again, I'm all about the redemption arc. But it was cool, how in both of them, how she turned into this, and then, she's like, I would become even worse than him, and you would love me in despair, and all that shit. And it was like, damn. Of course, they never show it in the movies, but in the book, they tried to give it to Tom Bombadil.
Yep.
And he took it, and he's like, oh, that's a cool ring, and gave it back. And they're like, why don't we just give it to him? And Gandalf is like, because if you give it to him, he's going to leave it somewhere. Because he's so, like...
He was like, I hate to say it, but he was kind of like a drugged out hippie.
Yeah, he
if
just... the
if
ring
you'd ever read
didn't
Lord of the
register.
Rings, they really go in deep with the flower child, the
Well,
full
it
on.
was Tolkien, so it wasn't about hippie shit.
No, because that shit didn't exist at the time.
Well,
But
not only that, but I mean, Tolkien was a hardcore Catholic professor of linguistics at Oxford.
yeah,
He wasn't worried about all that hippie shit.
Yeah.
Born in
but-
South Africa and fought at the Somme during World War One.
yeah.
This guy was hardcore. Tom Bombadil, here's the thing.
he was the
Bombadil
proto
is
hippie.
the mystery of Tolkien. Because Tolkien himself never explained it. And he's just hanging out in the old forest with his wife, who is apparently the daughter of a river, and singing the sun into the sky whenever he wants. Late night stream, morning for you. Hey, how you doing? Not
What's
yet.
up, man?
I was listening to Kino, blood type on my sleeve, and I thought about you. But anyway, yeah, no one knows anything about Tom Bombadil. You don't even know what race Tom Bombadil is. Because he looks
Wasn't there in one of the Lost Tales or one of the other books all about him?
They never explain him. That's, like I said, and maybe that's like part of the genius of Tolkien. He created this being that was so powerful that even the Dark Lord wouldn't F with him. And yet, Bombadil didn't give a shit about anything. He just kind of hung out and yelled at the willow tree when it tried to kill people. And when his wife,
I think it was his version of
the rain.
the Green Man.
Yeah, it's because remember when Frodo and them got attacked by the barrel wraiths, and Bombadil shows up and makes the sun come up. and the barrel wraiths get burned up and have to run back into their. I mean, now, no, I mean, even Glorfindel, the most powerful of all the elves from the Second Age, could not make the sun come up. And he's the one in the book that got Frodo and took him to Rivendell because he was the only creature on Middle Earth that could face all 9 of the Dark Riders down. But they cut him out of every movie. But Glorfindel, who killed the captain of the Balrogs in the first stage, I mean, he was the ultimate badass elf. He was so badass that he radiated light. The Nazgul couldn't look at him because he appeared like a column of flame to them.
Yeah. I had the trilogy on DVD, and they rot.
Oh, Peter Jackson did as good as I think we will ever get.
No, the disc rot. It was made by Warner.
Oh, they
Have you heard of that problem?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, disc rot.
Yeah, but I will say that, though. People can talk shit
Warner.
about Peter Jackson. He made mistakes, but I don't think we'll ever get a better
No, we won't.
thing.
Yeah.
I think that's it. You know, that's as good as we get for Tolkien.
The only way we could get a better version is if Bakshi did it again.
Well, Bakshi's passed, unfortunately, but his animated Lord of the Rings, I'll tell you what, the orcs were scarier in that than they were in
No, nerdy, you freaking
the live action. Rivendell, isn't that where Archie and the gang live? That's River Vale. And do you know, Nerdy Ogre, that comic book is still very, very much read and adored by people to this day?
Yep.
Archie comics, you can buy them at the public in the checkout line.
It's always been that way.
Bakshi's still
to this
alive.
day, I'm not sure whether Archie picked Veronica or frickin'
Betty.
Sabrina.
Goth chick or whatever, whichever one. Yeah. But that comic's been going for like 50 freaking years or more now.
No, it's way more. It's probably close to 75.
And Jughead.
Mm-hmm.
Theories on Tolkien's motivations and intent with the new Shadow. I don't know. Tolkien was a complicated guy. I did read the letters that he exchanged with the bookstore owner about could orcs be redeemed. And it was like he had a hard time with that. And in the end, he kind of let it go. He never said no, but he never said yes. But because he was having a hard time with being as Christian as he was having a hard time saying that something couldn't be redeemed. You know, if it tried hard enough, right? But then again, it's an orc. So him and this bookstore owner, they exchanged multiple letters about it. And then he wrote a letter to the Third Reich and told them that he absolutely, well, the Third Reich loved his book. And they thought he was talking about the Aryan man versus all the other peoples. And he wrote back and he's like, no. He's like, as a matter of fact, I based the dwarves on the Jews. You know, he's like, that's why they talk the way they do and everything. The dwarves in Tolkien are literally based on the ancient Hebrews. And so Tolkien is like, no, I'm not down with all that shit. Sorry, bro. You know, you got, you know, but then modern day people picked it back up and accused him of the shit, even though he literally wrote a letter saying no. You know, that's not what he was doing. He was trying to write a mythology for the Saxon people who had none. Because, I mean, whatever mythology they might have had got wiped out during all the conquests of England. So that was his whole deal. That was all he was trying to do. And a lot of people want to read into it. A lot of people want to say he was like doing a fantasy, but it was actually World War I, and that he was a farmer and he was against industrialization. And hey, Shark, what's up?
Shark.
Hey, what's up, Shark?
Yeah, well, there's some of his Sam and Frodo are based on the troops in the trenches during World War I.
I always thought Sam and Frodo were supposed to represent the salt of the earth English farmer or yeoman.
Especially Sam.
especially Sam,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
Frodo
Sam
was
was-
the more wealthy, posh guy,
Yep.
and Sam was your working in the garden.
Mhm. I ain't
And
dropping
honestly,
no eaves.
go ahead.
I ain't dropping no eaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to realize Sam was the true hero of the whole
Yes.
story.
Yeah, yeah, and what was his name? Sean Astin, the kid who
Yep.
played him. Uh, you couldn't ask for a better portrayal uh, of that character, and then he, turned into a complete douchebag in real life. It's such a shame.
I don't care. He can be a
If he,
douchebag. It,
I can
it doesn't
separate
hurt
the art
me.
from the artist.
It doesn't
I
hurt
can't do
me,
it. I
and
can't
it
do it. I
doesn't
worked in
make me
Hollywood too
dislike.
long,
Yeah.
and not only can I not do it, I refuse to do it. If you're a scumbag, especially when you're touching kids, there
Well,
is no.
if he's getting thrown in jail for that, that's different, Shadow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, okay, you
If
guys
he's
can
got
all
political
you guys can
opinions
all
I
agree
don't
with me on
like,
that
I can
line.
get over that.
But yeah, is that like the only thing you can't get over? Because for me, there's like a whole lot of other things I also can't get over. Um, so
Well, I
I
guess
know
a
I
direct
should.
attack on the faith would be pretty hard for me to overlook. But if he's just a hippie or a lefty or some shit, I don't care. Because, I mean, he's an actor. They're
What about a
professional
rapist?
liars.
What about a
That's
rapist?
something
Just
that's weird about modern society, that we even give a shit what actors think.
I know, right?
In
He
feudal
used to be
Japan,
the
the
lowest
lowest
of the
of the
low.
low were the actors. They were literally the lowest class
Yeah, that's what I just said.
in society because all they did is lie. And but we live in a society where things are flipped upside down, and it's relatively new because I always point this out to people. Do you know what Humphrey Bogart thought about politics?
Yeah, like when it comes to older actors, the only one I can really think of is Heston.
No, one of the
Because
best.
they
Too.
kept their mouths shut.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Heston was
Actors
involved in
back
the
then
NRA.
did not run their freaking mouths. They starred in Casablanca. They went out and got pictures taken of them hanging out with some hot chick at some glitzy place, and then you never heard from them.
Yeah.
They just, and I really wish they'd go back to that. Shark says hi, Jose.
I think the problem partially is the media and how they're on them 24/7, whether it's pictures, interviews, everything. They want to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
They think that's what people want.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
because they've made it. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They made that now what everybody wants because everybody wants to be that.
Yeah.
Well, I think they've given the actors an overblown sense of like whatever their opinions matter.
Mm-hmm. And they truly don't.
Which the old actors, I mean, a lot of the dudes in those old movies we love so much, they had fought in World War I or II.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they had lived like real lives, and they were not like so up their own ass that I mean, Heston only started getting political when he got older.
Yeah.
And he joined the NRA and did the whole with his musket from my cold dead hands. But I mean, I still loved him, and Ben-Hur always will.
He was great in everything. I mean, have you guys seen
Cecil DeMille Moses with Charlton Heston is one of the best movies ever made.
Oh, well, I'm a big fan of Sun and Green and Omega Man. Just because they're
Omega Man.
Of course you are. And
can't
why
help
would
it.
you be?
Planet of the Apes. I mean, come on.
Get your hands off me, you damn dirty ape.
I mean,
I love how when they did the remake and Wahlberg's character grabs him and he's in the ape and he's like, get your hands off me, you damn dirty human. I was like, that's a nice callback.
Yeah.
But Omega Man was really good, but I'm going to say that I like the Vincent Price version better.
Really?
Yeah.
There's just something about
I honestly, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But,
it ends a lot darker, and it's Vincent Price.
Yeah, I've only seen it because of riff tracks.
Right.
Okay.
I've watched it. It's good. and it's a lot darker than any of the other ones. Because in the end, Vincent Price learns that the guys he's been hunting down and killing the whole time, they were sapient. They were aware.
Yeah.
He was literally their boogeyman. And eventually they decide they had to take him out. They all got together to take him out.
I'll have to check that out.
Basically genociding them, and they knew it. And they're like, "What the?" This guy won't leave us alone. Every time we try to sleep in a building, he shows up with a machine gun, starts killing us and shit. So it's a lot more like the book.
What is the name of it?
I
Am Legend.
Last Man on Earth.
Am Legend, maybe.
That was the one with Will Smith.
Will Smith did it.
Well, that's also the name of the book.
Yeah, it's the name of the book.
Price's version.
Yeah, Vincent Price. What is the name of it?
Let me pop up. Let me open Tubi. I'll take a look.
I mean, if you cheerful, gracious, kind, sweet, she loved helping, students grow and learn, fearlessly sincere, principled with everything. Yeah, I had a teacher like that. Her only thing was she really hated the Smurfs. But other than that, everything.
So she was a Jehovah's Witness?
I don't know what her religion was. I never asked, but she hated
Jehovah's Witnesses hate the Smurfs big time.
This lady is the Big Country Good. I've never seen it. I've never seen it either.
I remember the band.
In a big country, dreams stay with you. Yeah, the 80s. The 80s.
80s
not your echo. Have you seen the Russian movie Vikings about Vladimir the Great? Because if you haven't, you should. It's really good. And I think you can watch it on YouTube. But anyway. And for those of you who don't know, Vladimir was, I believe, the grandson of Saint Olga. So, yeah. Jose needs just go on YouTube and type in Vikings Russian movie. and they'll have it either dubbed or subbed, whatever you want.
Okay, the Vincent Price movie is The Last Man on Earth, and it's up on Tubi.
It's The Last Man on Earth? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
and it's the same. He's a doctor, and he's trying to work on a cure, but then it happens, and everyone dies, and then he starts hunting them. And then he meets this girl, and it turns out she's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But she was walking in the daylight. And then, you were not allowed to watch He-Man? Huh. See, I don't know. I think growing up the way I did, like, me and my Jewish grandma would watch freaking Smurfs every day. It was like a thing. I'd come home from school and we'd watch Smurfs. And the other one too, the Snorks.
Yeah, I watch the Snorks.
And I'd always hang out with her because if I didn't, she would do the whole, you go have fun. I'll just sit here in the dark and eat some matchas alone. Don't worry about me. So I always had to go hang out with her, because that is one thing they're good at.
I never knew my grandparents.
I'm sorry to hear that. I knew all of my grandparents, 3 sets, and they were all amazing.
I didn't know.
I sometimes feel cheated, but at the same time, everything happens for a reason.
I was the firstborn grandchild, a son. I mean, boy, I hit the lotto with the grandparents. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I was the first grandchild and a boy, and that's a big deal in some cultures. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The Snorks I was allowed to watch. So I think the reason Miss Hell, that was her name, Miss Hell, she's long dead, so I'm not like whatever, was Papa Smurf doing alchemy and shit. She considered that to be like voodoo or witchcraft or something.
Yeah, that's kind of why the Jehovah's Witnesses aren't allowed to watch.
Yeah, but she couldn't have been a Jehovah's Witness. I don't think they exist in Eastern Kentucky.
Oh. Yeah, they used to come visit us all the time.
Yeah, not up there. The Pentecostals or something would probably try and kill him. Like the second they said that Jesus was actually the Archangel Michael and the Trinity ain't a real thing, they had problems. You know what I mean? The Baptists would have been like, get out of here with that bullshit. I mean, so never met my mom's mom. Run over by, geez, that's irony right there, Jose. You get taken out by a freaking ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad now.
I never met my.
Don't worry, I don't. I never met her, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Who'd you never meet, Malachi?
I never met my father's father. He committed suicide.
Yeah, that's dark too. Look at you guys.
He's had
Sorry, I
a
didn't mean to
It's
start
okay.
the ball rolling down that
Yeah, he
morose.
he had a doctor's
dark.
appointment, got the results of some test, and went in the garage, closed it up tight, turned on his semi, and that was it.
I have a dark story. I watched Star Wars.
I have a dark story. I watched the sequel trilogy in theaters.
That is a dark story.
In fact, Rise of the Skywalker was the last movie I've seen in theaters.
Yeah, we saw all three of those as well.
That's
You know, my boy, when he was really young, he was like, what the hell was his name? The bad guy in the sequels.
Kylo
Uh,
Ren.
Yeah. That's how memorable he was. He was like, "Oh, this guy's cool." And by the time the third movie rolled around, he's like, "This is crap, Dad." I'm like, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah.
I really like the idea of Rey being a scavenger. Indeed, I have the action figure as a scavenger. Because can you imagine what would happen if you made like force sensitive machines or something? That would be cool. But then they decided to convert that scavenger into Chuck Yeager, and then they convert her into El Zorro. So it was confusing.
Ray
Ray,
should have never been shit.
yeah, she should have never been like.
Had they been smart, like
Mm.
say I'd been there talking to George Lucas, I would have been like, look,
You mean
Finn
JJ?
is the Jedi, not Ray.
Mhm.
Ray can be the Han Solo, but Finn is the Jedi.
Yeah.
And run with that because Finn's backstory, ex-stormtrooper.
Yeah,
et
see,
cetera,
that's
et
funny.
cetera.
I honestly hated every character in those movies. There was
Even-
nobody. I was like, "Yeah, this makes sense." I was like, "What the hell? Who are these people?" They do not impress the way the original,
Yeah.
you know,
Kylo
Luke,
Ren.
Han, Leia, Chewbacca. Those characters were impressive. You know, or at least,
Kylo Ren. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, that was it.
No, Kylo Ren with the mask was impressive.
Well,
But
here's
people
the
in the
problem.
theater started to laugh when he took his mask. Really.
Yeah, he looked like what's his name from the Who, Pete
More.
Townsend.
More.
Wow.
Oh no, this got worse.
Sorry, Cal.
Oh yeah, we're talking about.
The
Yeah,
first
they could have made good movies. They didn't want to.
The-
They I mean, there was a conscientious decision made by
No.
somebody, whether it was Catherine, whatever, or whoever, to make
No, I know what
bad
it was.
movies.
No.
Yeah.
And then to say that they didn't make bad movies, they were effing with your expectations or whatever.
Okay. They had a solid start with The Force Awakens. There's a lot of people that say that, so we're just going to go with that. The
Right.
thing was, they did not have a plan for the movies. Not even
Well,
a
plus
rough
they changed
outline.
directors.
Well, here's the thing. They had set stuff up in The Force Awakens, like Snoke, for example. Then you have, what's his name, came in to direct and write the second movie, and he kills off Snoke. Well, there were ideas that JJ had that he wanted to do, and he just got ruined because they just let him do whatever he wanted to.
Right.
There was no
And
plan.
for that
and
reason,
there was no creative control
right.
from the higher ups, and even I had watched an interview with JJ where they asked him, "Was there some kind of plan?" And he got silent for a few seconds, trying to figure out how to say it, so it wouldn't, throw everybody under the bus.
This is
Yeah,
what I
like
wanted to see when it came to the movie.
did they actually screw it up
This should have been the movie.
to
Sorry,
spite
guys.
each other?
James,
What?
do you remember this?
The Dark Empire
Oh
comic.
yeah, yeah.
This is what I wanted. I wanted to see Luke go to the dark side, Leia become the Jedi, but no, we got that.
Luke get with Jade,
Mara Jade.
Mara Jade, have some kids. One of them turn into a bastard. There's a whole. I mean, yeah, there are tons of novels that they could have
I should
done.
actually look these up. I used to have the comics.
Smurfs in for shame. I love
When the
Smurfs.
comics came out, like shortly after they came out, they went up to like $100 a piece, and I'm like, yeah, I'll just sell them. Yeah, not a problem. And then I remember not shortly, but a couple years later, they all went down to like a more reasonable $10 a piece.
Yeah, there should be a graphic novel too out.
Oh, that's good. I like that. The technical manual for the Millennium Falcon. That's a good one. And I mean, but anyway, the thing that bothered me the most, I think, about the sequels is that they were asking us to believe the man who went unarmed into the Death Star to redeem his fallen father would murder his nephew in his sleep.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, that's just a bit too far for me. Luke Skywalker was the guy who redeemed Anakin
Mhm.
and brought him back. But now he has a bad dream and he's going to try to kill his own damn nephew. That makes no sense.
Where was that?
That's in the sequels.
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah.
I don't
When
remember
Luke's
that.
living on the island drinking boob milk out of
Okay, I remember that, but I don't remember him doing.
And then
Oh,
he
yeah.
burns
Because
all
Yeah.
the Jedi scrolls or
he
something.
tried to kill. He tried to kill Kylo Ren.
That's why Kylo did what he did, because he woke up with Luke standing over him with the saber getting ready to kill him.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
okay.
why would Luke do this? Luke was
Yeah,
a
that's-
master Jedi.
I can believe Mark Hamill would do that, but not Luke.
No, Mark Hamill, believe it or not, for all of the TDS he may have, if you watch the old interviews when they're asking him about the character he played in there, he was not happy. He was pissed off at what he did to Luke Skywalker. He was
Yeah, but
really
I'm sure
mad.
he's totally on board with it now.
He can say whatever he wants now that he's cashed some checks and shit. But the reality is, he knows who Luke Skywalker was. He played him.
That's cool.
You know,
never understood why Han and Leia's kid was named Ben.
yeah. Well, supposedly they named him after Ben Kenobi, right?
Yeah, but
That was
what,
Luke's kid.
what connection did they have? They had like barely any connection. And if you actually look at the legends, Ben was Luke's son.
Yep, one of them. Yeah, because I think
We
Luke
had
had a
one.
son, and then he had twins, didn't he?
No, that Leia and Han had twins, and then they had a son.
Okay.
And
one
Mason
of
and
the
Dana
twins
and Anakin.
I gotta agree with you, Cal. I'm not a big fan of the prequels. Jackie really likes them, but he was a kid and like a really young kid when he saw them, and he loved the Clone Wars and the Clone
Well,
Wars.
Clone Wars were actually better than any of the movies.
Mm-hmm.
The
Third
actual
was the best
animated
movie.
Clone Wars were really good.
Yeah,
And of all the okay, what's it? Rogue One was actually a good movie.
yeah.
The story,
okay, guys, I'm comparing.
aside from the
to
story,
other
was
movies.
good. Solo was better.
Yeah, Solo wasn't bad. I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would.
For
I went and
some
watched it.
reason, Solo got tanked so hard, and I watched it, and I have no idea what everyone was so mad about.
What do you got there, Jose?
Jose showing off his freaking Clone Wars
The
stuff.
deck building game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't. Plus, I'm a Woody Harrelson fan anyway. So,
Oh,
see, there's
shit.
the board game.
This is the box of power. This is this extra minis and characters for the game.
Oh,
This
nice.
isn't the base game.
Nice. But yeah, it crapped the bed hard. Like, well, it wasn't having fun with Amber Heard. It was pissing her off. So she takes a crap in your bed like an angry cat.
Exactly, Shart. That's exactly uh, my opinion when it comes to celebrities. If they
Yeah.
keep their mouths shut, it'd be easier. But when
Yeah.
you know some of the stuff that I know behind the scenes, like I said, there's certain things that uh,
We all haven't been to Diddy Party, Shadow.
yeah, right. That was good. That was really good.
I'm joking, though.
It was a good burn.
Nothing but
Uh,
love.
but yeah, it's like this. I've had some shady friends in the past. And some of them, if they came to me, like, hey, dude, let's hang out or whatever. I might. But there's some things that there's some lines, and it's not just the kids. There's lines before that I'm still going to cut people off. And if I know they've done those things, then just no.
Well, I mean, if they're blatant criminals running around mugging people and shit, obviously I'm not
Yeah.
going to hang out with bad people.
I mean, I get what you're
Like,
saying.
I don't care for Stephen King, but I'll still watch Christine every now and then.
the It chapter 1 and chapter 2, man.
You know what I watched the other night? And I have no idea if anyone in it is offensive to anyone, but I watched again In the Mouth of Madness. Because I watch it about once or twice a month. And I'll tell you what, as a self-proclaimed Lovecraft scholar, In the Mouth of Madness is one of the best Lovecraftian movies ever written.
Did you see the one with Cage?
The Color Out of Space,
Color of
another
Space.
awesome one.
I'm looking forward to
Hey,
seeing
what's up,
that one. I
Doc?
haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
I turned down.
I was a huge Star Wars fan, guys. Still am. I was actually looking up the prices of the original blue trading card series, which I've got a crap
Oh
ton.
yeah, I remember that.
But the real feather in my cap is the Wonder Bread stickers. You guys remember those?
No,
No.
Nobody remembers those. Wonder Bread had a sticker in each loaf of bread when the movie first came out. And there was only like 11 or 12 stickers in the set. I had a crap ton of them on my bedroom door. I still have a complete set somewhere downstairs. And they go for about $100 a sticker.
yeah, I never ate Wonder Bread until I was probably 18 or 19.
Yeah, we went back to Wonder Bread because the generic bread over the COVID last couple of years just turned into like just awful. We used to get the generic, name, no name store brand bread, and it's crap. Just absolutely
Growing up, the only bread I got was, depending on which grandparent I was with, rye bread,
nice, Cal, nice.
biscuits, or cornbread. That was it. I never seen, like, other than the rye bread from a deli, I
really?
never actually seen a loaf of bread.
I just made hush puppies for the
most
first
part of
time.
my life.
Yeah,
Wonder Bread stickers, Star Wars, and others. See, yeah, I just, yeah, I'm up a little late. I watched Double D. He had a pretty good stream, and then I'm actually.
I wish he would do his show not any other night, but he does his show the same time Salty Cracker's on, and I have not missed a single Salty Cracker live stream since he started.
Sometimes I watch one on the computer and one on TV.
It's just like I'm not going to miss Salty. As much as I like Double D, it's like, dude, I'm not going to laugh.
Double D would have no problem with that. I'm pretty confident in saying Double D would have no problem.
Yeah, if he would do his show earlier or later, or on a Tuesday or a Thursday, I would be there. But I still watch the beginning, and it's like, oh, it's 4:30, man. Sorry. Besides, it's weird when I watch his show. I was like the last comment. I came in, I said howdy, and then I'm watching the show, and a half hour later, there's still no comments after mine.
Yeah, that's some internet issue, I think. But I have the
Always.
same issue with Max because Max does his stream when Razor Fist is on.
Which stream?
Ooh, yeah, that would be
And
a tough call.
Razor Fist has called me out multiple times now. So, he's like Sifu. I'm like, notice me, Sifu. So I watch Razor Fist stream. He's playing Mech Warrior or whatever he's playing,
Which
And,
stream?
huh?
Which of Max's streams? Which one?
I'm talking about his
Friday
live Legion of Myth stream.
The GMI or the Sunday?
I think it's the Thursday one or whatever.
But he has a
I
stream.
thought it was Friday.
It's Friday, and that's the same day Razor Fist streams.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm in a game on Friday night, so I haven't seen Max's show in a while. And I asked him, weeks and weeks and weeks ahead of time to be on this Friday's show because it's on mixing genres. That's my jam, as you guys know. There is no one genre that deserves to be left alone without throwing other crap in it. But I haven't heard back from him. He said something about having to join his server, but I'm like, dude, I've known you for freaking years. I'm on your server or whatever. If there's something new, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And if you mean I got to pay to watch your show, it ain't gonna happen. I don't pay to watch anybody's show. Even Salty, there's nobody I give money to because I just don't.
Sometimes I do just because I'm generous and I just want to.
Yeah, I'm a
But
type
I don't
bastard.
feel like
and-
I have to. They tried to cancel Razor Fist. It wouldn't be the first time. Wouldn't be the first time. They tried to cancel Salty Cracker.
What do you mean the Friday show's on hold, nerdy?
he's okay. Well, Nerdy broke it, so I'm just going to say he's putting it on a hold until next year because he's got other stuff he wants to work on and doing
Okay.
all the stuff for the Sunday show, and then Friday it's just taking up too much of his time.
Oh man, I cursed another show. Fuck. I did the same. I did the
Probably
same
wasn't
thing.
you. It's probably Noro. Noro
No,
told
I
me
did the
you
same
need to
thing
get
with
the chores done.
no.
I'm just joking, Malachi. You don't got to defend
No,
him.
no, I'm just saying. I know
you guys,
why.
You guys remember
I'm not gonna,
Biggest
I don't wanna
Geekus,
say
right?
Mhm.
Well,
I kept-
if Max wants to tell me what he's doing, he will. And if you don't, then that's fine. Last
Yeah,
time
but I
watched
did the
him,
same
he
thing
had
with,
like
Are you a member?
Pop and someone else on.
You're a member, right, James?
Yeah.
Try and catch the last Friday of the month, the members only stream. He's going to go into the details.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm hoping it's all good. I know he was thinking about writing a game.
Yeah,
So
That
maybe
I did the
actually
same
one
thing,
of-
guys, with
writing a game.
That's one
I
of
did the same thing with Biggest Geekus. I said, hey, let's do a show together on a thing, and like the next week or the week after, they called it quits.
Well,
And-
you
Yeah.
haven't killed my
Admit it,
show,
baby.
and I'll be on your show anytime you want. The problem is sometimes you stream when I'm running my game.
Yeah, I know.
So
There is
it's
actually a
like-
show I wanted to talk to you about being on, but I can't remember what the hell it was. It had something to do, I think, with Raven. Oh, that's what it is.
That's right.
James and some of you other guys out there, we're going to start teaching Raven how to DM. Because, yeah. Because she's getting a copy of, supposed to be getting a copy of the Monty Python role playing game. And that's like one of her favoriteest things in the whole wide world. So we want to get her ready up to speed so she can run Monty Python on my show on Saturday nights in the distant future. So we're going to have some shows where, and it might not be Saturday night, it might be some other night, where we get the best DMs out there to come and give Raven the best advice we can give, because she's never done it. She's only played a few games, but that's her thing. And I said, okay, you're going to GM this. And she's like, I don't know how. It's like, anybody can do it. If it's a thing that you love, you can walk and talk your way. You can run any game if you're, like I said with DM James. He was talking about this game and it made it click for me. When you have that level of enthusiasm for a thing, a genre, a story, whatever it is, then you can GM. If you're just doing it because you got voluntold or something, you're not really ready to be a GM. You've got to have this level of enthusiasm about a thing, and then you can't help but do it. You're already in the GM mindset.
Yeah. I've got some gamer news actually that I can tell you guys. I don't know if you saw it, but I linked it on my YouTube page. Mongoose Publishing has gone into partnership with
Yep.
War Games Atlantic to make miniatures for Traveler 2300.
Yeah,
saw
I got
that.
it in my FLGS.
And I was squee because I've got all the 2300 shit. I love it. It's my favorite sci-fi thing. And I'm sitting there saying, so they're going to be selling boxes of frickin' French colonials and Kafirs. I mean, count me in, man. Count me in. I hope they sell model vehicles. Plus, War Games Atlantic, a lot of time, if they do, because I'm a member of their tribe, as they call it, which means like every other day they send me sometimes 5, 6 free STLs. So
Nice.
like they've got the Lizard Man plastic box set, right?
Mhm.
But then they've got STLs that go with the Lizard Man box set that add all kinds of like weapons options and
Oh, neat.
all kinds of crazy shit. Like you
Hey,
never
nerdy, were you talking about what I was talking about? Is if you want in, yeah, no problem, because it's going to be like a revolving door of the best GMs trying to teach Raven.
Well, I mean, I love Raven to death. I really do. Every time I've ever been on a show with her talking about the woo woo stuff,
Okay.
I always side with her against Bear because, it's fun. And also because she could be right. I don't know. So yeah.
My faith says otherwise, but I get you. I get your meaning.
Yeah.
Well, like our argument we've been having about ley lines, we do know there are rivers of magnetic force that go all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what in the hell magnetism actually 100% could do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know that certain magnetism could give you cancer in your brain. It can do all kinds of crazy shit, right? So what happens, and the Rift player out there will love this, what happens when two meet?
Yeah, Nexus point.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Sure.
It can
so
open
in
the
Sure,
real
but
life,
I
that could cause weird shit. We don't even know.
right.
Whereas
I don't
Daryl
think
will be
it's.
like, nah, no, that's
I don't
weird
think
bullshit.
it's got
And I'm
the
like, yeah, maybe.
quite the power and significance that she puts on it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd see more, and it would be a thing. It would be a provable, repeatable science versus some quasi mystical,
Maybe.
thing.
That's all
I
I'm
mean,
going to say.
even religiously speaking, yes, it probably, if it's a thing, it does have a divine origin, but the way people hype it in that community is just, you know, too much for me.
Next point. See, I had to throw a bone to Nerdy Ogre since I'm always making fun of him about riffs,
And me.
Palladium, and being like,
Hey,
don't give a
I
shit
played
about
Rifts of Palladium for a decade. I got burnt out on it with the combat. It's just
Eh, I think it's a great idea. I love the idea of it, but you know who did the idea better? Game Designers Workshop, Dark Conspiracy. It's basically everything Riffs posits except darker and more X Files.
Do you hear who owns that now?
Mongoose Publishing apparently owns all of it, and they are going to continue to allow Free League to make Twilight 2000
Yep.
because
And
they're so pleased with what a great job they're doing.
they're-
And the rumor is we could see a Free League version of Dark Conspiracy.
No, Mongoose will be kickstarting a new one.
Oh, Nerdy Ogre's got a cowboy.
It was he has
what's up,
elite,
Mary?
the elite
Hey.
GM. philosophy. Oh my god.
Well, I mean, I would love it, and hopefully they use traveler rules for it or something like that. I
Well,
was never a huge fan of the percentile rules.
yeah, I just picked up an original 2300, and I haven't had a chance to even read it yet. I'm so far behind, guys.
The original
feel ya.
2300 is pretty good, but it does not use traveler rules.
Yeah, I know.
It is
Yeah.
its own distinct rule set based on die 10s, right?
Yeah.
The new Traveler 2300 is straight up just Traveler. It's 2 dice 6, add a skill, be 8 or higher. So it's much easier to play, especially if you're a Traveler player. But it's got all that old, cool, near future. I'm an American from Ellis, and I'm fighting Kafer as a mercenary or whatever the hell you're doing. I mean,
Sure.
Yeah.
space
Now-
cowboy shit.
Apparently, there was a new edition of Dark Conspiracy in the works when GDW started having financial issues. That is the one that Mongoose wants to release.
Yeah, that's a nice way of saying got sued the shit out of by TSR.
Well, I couldn't remember the whole deal.
Well, basically,
Servant of Shiloh.
Mongoose, not Mongoose, Game Designers Workshop, which was always a war game company anyway, and they happened to hit that wall where war games were dying because computers were becoming a thing. So no one wanted to worry about 1,000 little cardboard chits anymore on a hex map. They agreed to release Dangerous Dungeons or some shit like that, which was Gary Gygax's
Dangerous Journeys.
But it was called Dangerous Dungeons or something before.
Journeys.
Dimension.
Oh.
And they
before.
got sued, and all of those books they printed up, they had to turn over to TSR, and
that
TSR
whole-
shredded them all. So now I have Dangerous Journeys, and I mean, I don't care for it. I'd rather play AD&D, honestly.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Well, yeah, because it's the best RPG ever.
I think.
I'm wondering if Troll Lord is going to be re-releasing that.
Yeah,
You never know. I mean, Troll Lord
They're doing the Gore not
released it once before. They had Troll Lord there for a while at a cream-colored box set that was Dangerous Journeys.
Yep, because I'm working
And
with Gary. Gary wrote the Gore novels, wasn't it? Right, Gore the Thief.
Gord the Thief. I have them all.
Yeah.
2 of them are signed by Gary.
I thought you said Gore for a second there. I'm like,
No,
that was John Norman.
Yeah,
That's a totally different guy.
Yeah.
He was
know.
in some different shit.
I started reading those early this year, and I'm on book 3, and it's nowhere near, at least at this point, what the reputation is.
Yeah.
Well, if you go to a Renaissance fair and you see a woman walking around behind a guy with an iron collar around her neck, you know what's going on there.
Oh yeah. I've seen some of those videos. Oh my lord!
I've seen them in real life at SDA events and shit.
but no, Troll Lord is re-releasing the Gord novels,
Awesome.
and there was an unpublished one.
See, and as much as I've talked total shit about Luke Gygax, all of this was because Luke Gygax fought for it.
Take care, Jose. Good seeing you again,
Yeah,
man.
Jose, it's great seeing you, bro.
And actually,
sorry.
Jose, I gotta get rolling too. It is a school night here, and
I'm
Jackie's
off
only got
tomorrow.
2 weeks left of the year.
Well,
So I
fine.
gotta go do some stuff.
See, Jose can leave and everything's cool, but when you leave, we're talking so much shit about you.
It's fine. It's fine.
I'm joking.
I know.
Just
Good seeing you guys again.
Just remember to play Battlezone. It is a sci-fi game about the Cold War, Americans fighting Russians on the moon. Full sci-fi.
Nice.
Jose, why don't you? Jose, do you have a channel?
He does.
I do.
Okay, go over to my channel so I can go over to your channel.
Okay. Okay. Let me.
His channel is Baltec Player, I think.
Yeah, because I didn't know. I want to see what you got going on, man.
A lot of Baltec stuff. Can't blame him for that.
I am subscribed. Okay. Wait. I'm going to post here.
No way, Jose. Buenas noches, Jose. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Yeah, Balkan Dios.
Cool, Jose.
Okay, hello.
Cal's over here
I
saying
hope-
can't keep up with Troller Games. Well, they got another book going to backer kit in June. They're
You know, I'm
doing,
looking forward to their John Carter, but that's about it.
Yeah, they're.
Um,
Go ahead.
I didn't like Castles and Crusades. Amazing Adventures has got a lot of good stuff going for it, but there's some things about it I really don't like.
Mhm.
That sci-fi fantasy game they did, I wish I could get a hold of that, but
Well,
Okay.
that they did an updated version, but it's not in print yet. So I have the
I'm a little
PDF.
bit surprised that, I mean, one of these days, Shadow, when you've got more time, you need to remind me to ask you why you don't like Castles and Crusades.
I
Not that I'm going to like be mean to you that you don't, but I mean, it just seems like
um uh, other than it's got some stuff that it's okay, but it's a watered down D&D. Most of the professions are all nerfed compared to what AD&D characters could do in the same game.
okay. I mean,
Sorry,
I
that was me,
ran it
guys.
and I
I was
still
on
have my
Jose's
first
channel.
printing player's handbook.
But
Because
I get
when I started playing Castles and Crusades, there was no Castle Keeper's book.
okay.
It was just the player's book and then the World of Artie or whatever.
Aired.
Yeah. And I will admit, I completely ignored the siege engine and just had everybody roll under attributes for like, like you do in AD&D and OSC Advanced. It's like, oh, you're trying to climb something? Well, roll under your strength or some shit.
Mhm.
But other than that, I mean, it's a great game. And I even
it's okay. It's okay. I mean,
covers.
the ascending armor class, the basic hand-to-hand thing makes things easy, but the the fighter does literally he gets nothing. What some of the
Just
other
have hit
races,
points and additional attacks.
he gets
He's
one
only-
additional attack. One.
He's the only one that gets a +1 to hit at first level.
Yeah.
Right, but
Right.
those are just numbers. It's really hard to role play that,
Even though I
and when
always
you're
play
watching
them
your fellow player characters, every level something new happens for them. It's just getting a little bit better incrementally. Mind you, it's a lot better. When it comes to rolling to hit, but that's it. That's literally all it is roll to hit, and you get one extra attack, never more than two.
Human
Which,
Fighter is the best freaking career in any D&D version of the game. I've died on that hill. There you go.
I'm a big magic user, magic druid.
Like that guy from freaking The Mandalorian, I said what I said. And when I play the game, I play Human Fighter or Human Knight. I've had people make fun of me. They're like, oh, you're playing a game where you could be anything and you're just going to be yourself? I'm like, yeah, I'm a human fighter. I wear lamellar armor. I carry a teardrop-shaped shield, and I got a sword. That's what I'm doing. That's what we're up to. And I role play just fine. You don't need a bunch of abilities and stupid shit to role play a character.
Right, but when I want to play a fantasy game, I want to be able to attain those things I can never possibly ever attain in the real world.
Hey, I'm not knocking on your style of gaming at all. I'm just telling you, it is my considered opinion, after years of consideration and thought, that the human fighter is the best and most useful class in the game.
Well, that's what I've always thought. Is like you don't need rules to role play a character.
No.
So
It's not a matter of role playing the character.
That's-
It's a matter of getting something, getting new abilities, being able to do stuff that you can never do in the real world.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from.
Especially if you look at like
100% with you, Shadow.
magic user
You
or
want to play out
druid.
fantasy.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, that's different. Yeah.
And fighters and thieves and scouts and stuff like that don't get any of that just doesn't have that much appeal to me when compared to being able to raise the dead, cast a fireball, call down lightning from the sky, that crazy shit that nobody can do. I want to do that. I want to be that guy, not just the guy who can kick ass. Well, you can kick ass. I can freaking destroy an army with the point of a finger.
Hey, like I said, I'm not going to argue about it. I think that
Fair enough.
your what you're saying is perfectly legitimate.
Fucking
But
kick
for
ass.
me, I'll play a human fighter and I'll be a hero. And I don't need a bunch of abilities to just be the badass in the group that's willing to, if needs be, hold the line while everyone else escapes the dungeon
Yeah, you hold that
and
line, and
die
I'll just summon
heroically.
up elementals or some shit.
Oh no, I'm saying, I that's what I like. I've done that in games when the battle was going really bad. I'm the guy who runs up and tells the rest of the group run.
James, I'm in 3 games right now, and every game I'm in, I'm playing a human fighter.
You
Not even
hypocrite!
joking. I'm not even joking.
You're over here
1790s, I'm
arguing
a
with me,
fighter.
and you're doing exactly what I
Shadow
do.
Dark, no, in the Shadow Dark game, I'm now actually playing a thief. But in the previous Shadow Dark game, I was playing a fighter. In the previous Castles and Crusade game with Bloodworth, I was playing a human fighter. And now in the 1790s, I'm playing kind of a witch hunter, kind of a Solomon Kane.
Yeah, because you're running that 2250 or 20 whatever.
Traveler 2525, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Poor orc child. Yeah, hey Cal.
Yeah.
Shadow
Right.
doesn't
That's
want
what
to be a
whenever
mud
Oh,
covered
yeah, and the God
peasant.
Wars too. Thanks, Cal, yeah.
Oh, so there you go.
whenever I play a game for the first time, I always end up playing like a human barbarian. Like the most simple, basic of characters.
Same.
Learn the basic rules, and then from there, I'll like, oh, what sounds interesting? What sounds cool? But ultimately, the more I get into the game, the more I end up playing like a human fighter, so some sort of human fighter.
Well, that's why one of the things I loved about first edition, one of the only things I loved about Unearthed Arcana really
Mm-hmm.
was the Cavalier. Like if I'm wanting to play the snooty kind of, I'm not a dirty peasant. I'm not
Mhm.
like Conan. I'm more like, I don't know, freaking Bedivere or something. Then you play a knight. And
Mhm.
then you've got a code, your code of chivalry. And,
Your
you're not
code,
necessarily having to be good, but you got to be lawful.
your code to make sure that they're witch before you burn her, huh?
Right, right. So,
With that, I'm going to hit the road, guys. I will
how
see
can
There,
you?
you
dude.
later in the week.
Now,
See
I
ya.
never play a paladin, though. I'll tell you that right now. Never play a paladin.
Oh, yeah, I'm with Bear. This is not good.
What's not good?
This setup.
Oh,
I feel like my head's gonna bounce around.
Okay. Boom. Yeah, because paladins, I love the concept, but if you play them right, you get to play them like 1 or 2 adventures, and then you have to retire. Because the rest of the group is probably not going to all be lawful good. So you can get the excuse to go on the adventure with the party to do the thing. But when you're done with that thing, you got to tell the party to beat feet because you're going to go on and do your other whatever. And plus, sometimes people just play paladins to be so annoying. It's like, don't be that guy.
Now, one
Yeah.
reason I like Castles and Crusade so much is a first level thief is competent compared to AD&D.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Well, Shadow just said how he didn't like Castles and Crusade. He's in a damn Castles and Crusade game.
yeah,
So it must not be that bad. And yes, when they come out with the nostalgia covers, of course I bought all 3 books. Of
yeah.
course. Had to.
So originally I wasn't gonna back the Reforged crowdfunding campaign. I ended up having the money, so I was like, "What the hell? I'm gonna do it." So they are splitting the shipping up because they couldn't get everything done in time. But they at least wanted to get everybody the core books around Christmas time. So I got my core books. A few weeks later, I get an email saying I got another package coming. Here, they accidentally sent me a second batch of core books. And they're like, don't worry about it, just keep them. So I got a free set of free PHB and Monster and Treasures.
I used to be on their. They had a web page and it had forums on it. You know, the old way, BBCs and all that.
The forums are down.
And I talked to Dave and
Davis?
stuff like that, Chenault, or however you say his name.
Yep.
And they seem like just really stand up guys. They seem like good people, you know.
Every Tuesday and Thursday night, I'm on Twitch. I'm in chat for their streams. Steven's great. And look it up. He did an AMA on Reddit a couple years ago, and there's a bunch of questions about Gary in there. You get to really find out what kind of person he was later in life.
Yep.
Yeah,
I like them. They're a bunch of wild men from Arkansas.
Oh,
and,
David. Oh, my God.
And like I remember when they were going to finally release the one book, they like took it out and put on a stump and hit it with a sword or some shit and filmed it.
No.
It was like,
Davis.
oh my goodness, man. But
I'm having technical issues.
All right.
hold on. All right, but yeah, when I did get to play Castles and Crusades, I played a knight because you know
That's your Cavalier.
that's your Cavalier, and if I were going to play a game with old school essentials, I'd probably choose a knight because or fighter. I mean, I like the fact that the knight and the fighter can both pick a weapon and get +1 with it. That's pretty cool. That's first level, but and OSC, I love the fact that if the DM decides to lift the level cap on demi-humans, fighters get +1 con, +1 charisma, and get to roll 2 hit die every time they level and get the highest. So that is the rule in OSC Advanced. Plus, you get +1 to your loyalty or morale score. And humans are the best. So if you've got a level 5 human fighter, not only did you get that +1 con, which could give you extra hit points, but every time you roll in to level, you roll 2 die 8 and pick the best one. So your character, the other thing humans get, anytime they tie initiative, humans win. And if it's 2 humans, then you compare decks. But humans always win initiative against non-humans on a tie.
Yeah, I like the way that Castles and Crusades does the humans without the level limits. They really make it worthwhile playing a human.
Yeah.
Getting those, the 3 primes instead of 2 is big.
Oh, that's a huge one if you use the siege system. Yeah, that makes the human better at everything. So, yeah. But I don't know. When I was very young, a guy that when I very first learned to play D&D, it was the bishop's son on Deseret Ranch. So, Mormons. And he ran us through the adventure in the back of the Mulvey basic box set, like the ruined gatehouse or some shit.
Yeah.
And my brother Haas had made a dwarf, and I made an elf, and my elf fell in the pit right at the very beginning and died. And then after that, he said, you got to make a new character. So I made a human fighter, and I just ran with that from then on, Good night, Cal.
Later, Cal.
Good night, Moon.
See you, Cal.
Okay. Yeah, see, I never read through the races section in OSC Advanced. Because if I'm playing OSC, I'm playing races class.
There's there's a thing that OSC put out that's like the OSC Advanced checklist that you can
probably
check
have that.
what optional rules you're using and then let the players know. And one of those options is humanoid or demi-humans can go to any level in a class, but directly under that is humans get all this. So if you pick this happens. And it's like I said, +1 con, +1 charisma, +1 to loyalty checks for henchmen, you automatically win ties and initiative against anything that ain't a human, and you roll double hit die and pick the high one. So
basically,
mean,
you have advantage
that's-
on rolling hit dice.
that's huge.
That's-
If you're playing a fighter,
that
I
is
mean,
one.
that's huge.
That's huge
I
if
don't
you're
want
a
to say
wizard.
complaint, but for
Yeah. 2 die 4 and get the highest. There's also a rule that says if you roll 1, you get to re-roll it.
Hold on.
I
Dirty
think
flag
Lady
a little bit.
Yoga's internet is
don't get any
freaking out.
kind of bonuses or anything like that. You don't get any.
Yeah.
You just, all your stats are 3d6 down the line. But then again, like humans, the standard, everything else is either up or lower.
Yeah, unlike modern D&D,
So-
in that version, like Mold Bay Cook,
But-
dwarves get a bonus to con, elves get a bonus to dex, halflings get a bonus to, I think, dex.
Oh, well, I could put the books away.
Or con. I can't remember. Halflings, I mean, other than the fact that if you use level limitations, they can never go above like level whatever and anything but a thief. But if you look at all the racial abilities halflings get, they're little bastards, I mean, like they're basically invisible in the woods if they want to be. Gnomes are the same way too. The gnome, for some reason, has infravision at 90-foot range. Nothing else has that. Everything else has 60, but a gnome gets 90. And plus they get all the bonuses against large creatures and all that shit too. So
halfling is +1 dex, -1 strength.
Right. And the gnome can talk to any borrowing creature.
And con of 9 is a requirement.
Yep. And I don't know if the halflings do it. I think they do, but like the dwarf and the gnome, depending on what their con is, they get like freaking mega bonuses on saving throws.
Yes.
Like if you got a dwarf with an 18 con, they get like +5 to 3 different saves. It's crazy.
Yeah. Poison spells, magic wands, rods, and staves.
Yep. Which is why when they went into the one room and got attacked by the Bodak, even though they couldn't see the Bodak, it kept attacking them with its gaze attack because they don't have to see it. It only has to see them. And I kept being like, well, make a death save or a spell save. And they did every damn time because 2 players in the group are dwarves and the other 2 are gnomes. So they're both like, my save versus this is like, I need to roll higher than a 6, or some shit. I mean, not really. I think the best was 10, but still, I mean, the odds were in their favor. So, and I'd have them be like, you kind of black out for a second, but then you come back. And eventually the ranger in the group spotted the bastard. And then they started a big fight and it tried to kill them all, but they kept making saves. Now, the gnome later went down a hall by herself, encountered the Dracolisk, freaking eye-to-eye contact right away, rolled a 3 on the save, turned the stuff right on the spot.
That's what you
And
get
then
when
the
you
rest
go
of
alone.
them ran in and saw her, and they just grabbed her and ran. And I was like, who's carrying her? And one of the rangers who's got like a 16 strength said they were. So I was like, well, she's just a little gnome. So even though she's turned to stone, she's probably not too heavy.
Yeah, like a garden gnome.
That's what I said. They should have tucked her back to wherever and just planted her in a garden. But instead, they went back up to the upper halls because they had made friends with the Patch like a couple weeks earlier. And they paid the Patch, I kid you not, 1,000 platinum pieces. But then the Patch, if 6 of them get together and concentrate, they can turn someone from stone back to flesh.
Okay.
So, yeah, those little like weird mutant dwarf human hybrids that hang out in the dungeons and just carve shit all day. There's a chance to either make them enemies or make them friends. And my group decided to make them friends. And then it ended up working out for them because the Patch gave them a little bit of a scouting on the immediate area and told them what they could do and helped them take out the Fomorians or something like that. And then went back down their little passageway to continue carving weird designs into cave walls because apparently that's what they're obsessed with doing.
I want to
They,
bounce on out of here
all right,
before I fall asleep.
okay.
Y'all have a good night. Thanks
You
for
too,
having me
man.
on.
Oh,
Good seeing you,
anytime.
dude.
But
Yeah, Shark, I think what that might be is possibly people wanting to be Aragorn.
my group has 2 rangers in it right now, both human.
And I honestly, if I were to play a ranger, I'd play him like a special forces type guy. Because I think that's closer to what they really are.
Well, in my group, one of the rangers stands in the front rank with the dwarf fighter, and he's constantly having me roll to see if he's tracking anything when they're going.
Yeah.
Plus, if you have a ranger in the party, you can get bonuses for traveling overland.
Yep. And
They can
foraging.
forage and hunt.
Yep.
And they do a lot of that. But no, they don't act like Aragorn, though.
I think what I'm saying is that I think we have a.
I mean, my specific players, not all players.
Yeah,
Some
I'm thinking.
do, you're right.
Yeah, I think if that's anything, that's what it could be. Like, oh, he's playing a ranger. He's playing Aragorn.
Well, look, my first character's name was Elrond, and he is an elf. And he died 15 minutes into my first game. So there you go. So, it is what it is. And then, I've had people get mad at me because you know what the name of my second character was?
What?
James. And every character after that was named James. In one campaign I played in, a buddy of mine was running. He told me I could, under no circumstance, name my character James because that name was considered to be a curse from the gods. So I named my character Finn. Finn McShamus.
No, you gotta be like the guys in the early days, like James Ward, where his character was his name backwards.
Yeah, draw midge.
Yeah.
No, I was always James of. So if we played Greyhawk, I would be like James of the County of Ullick, or I'd pick a city. I'm James of, near Deeve, or James of whatever the capital of Keeland is, or whatever, because we played in Greyhawk a lot. That was kind of our thing. We did do our stint with Forgotten Realms stuff, but that got old pretty quick for us. Even though I did like the books, the original ones. Ruthless Forest Warrior. Oh yeah, play a ranger creeping around the woods, hiding up like the old Tarzan novels. Imagine if you're playing a ranger and you're hiding up in a tree with a lariat, and like an orc is scouting down the ground below you, and you drop that lariat around its neck and pull its ass up into the tree.
I'd finally own it. I've been wanting this for years.
Oh my goodness. Double D did a whole thing about it. Apparently it's a big deal. I've never gotten it.
Ever since I found out.
I have heard, and I mean, I could be wrong here, but I've heard a lot of people use that module to represent the city of Greyhawk in their Greyhawk campaigns.
I made a comment during the last stream. Stevens asked me anything. I'm tempted to shove it into Yigsburg.
I have the Igsburg book, though, and I like it.
Oh, it's good.
The City of the Dun Falcon or whatever.
Yeah. I'm excited for all that to come out. It's just
a little too high fantasy for me, but I mean, whatever. It's cool.
Yeah.
Medieval special. Well, that's 100% what a ranger would be.
Either one or Robin Hood.
They would be the guys that armies send out to scout out the enemy, to find paths through rough terrain, and maybe to take out enemy pickets in the middle of the night so that the rest of the army could get the jump on the enemy,
Yeah,
so I totally get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like how Kelsey did her version of Ranger for Shadow Dark. It went along those lines. And I love the Ranger in Castle of Crusades. It doesn't have magic. It's one thing that's always kind of been off for me, and Rangers is their ability to cast magic.
Yeah, that I think they got from Aragorn using the hands of the king or the hands of a healer, but it wasn't magic. It was that he knew how to use herbs
Yep.
that he could find, but for whatever reason, when it translated over, it become, druid spells or something.
Yes, magic user and druid spells.
Right. And it's like, okay, whatever. But in OSC, they don't even get their first spell until like 8th or 9th level. So.
Yeah, it was higher up.
Yeah, it's pretty high. Meanwhile, my wife's 7th level cleric has the ability to just banish a demon from existence if it fails a save. Banish evil. Boom, get the hell out of here. Once per day, but still. She's used it twice now to take out boss mobs.
Yep.
That's how they got rid of the Bodak. They're fighting the Bodak, and she's just like, banish evil. And I'm like, rolling the save. 3. Okay. The Bodak goes to wherever the hell it's from. It's some kind of weird undead demon monster.
Yep.
So at her level, she also has Raised Dead, but she's never used it.
Yeah, but their whole thing with the like you were saying about Aragorn, they gave him a delay neutralized poison ability.
Right. Which, I mean, okay. Rangers can find
that makes sense.
Medicinal herbs to do to do healing and stuff makes sense. But I don't know that it should be, because in Lord of the Rings there really wasn't any magic if you really get down to it,
Yeah.
Maybe some enchanted weapons, and maybe the elves had a couple of things up their sleeves, but not really. I mean, I ran Middle Earth role playing a lot when I was young, and I mean, there's no wizard in that game.
Yeah, actually, I think I just saw the books on eBay, a core book that was actually a reasonable price, but I'm not up for learning any new games at the moment, aside from what I already have to read.
So if you don't like crunch, you might have a problem with it. Because somebody was talking about a game and they're like, well, that game has more crunch than the other game. And I was like, well, it depends what you consider to be crunch. Because if you haven't played Rollmaster, you don't know what crunch is. I mean, Slavic myth, there are mighty heroes and champions. In Slavic myth, of course, you've got the Bogatar, like Ilya Muromets is one of the named ones. And then you've got the gods, and no, Perun is not a Slavic version of Thor, no matter how much people want him to be, he's not. But you've also got tons of demons. That's another thing. Slavic mythology, like a third of everything is a demon straight from hell. And then what isn't a demon or a god is some kind of undead vampire. And there's like 50 kinds.
Yep.
And then don't go near a pond or a freaking creek or a river at all, because there's always going to be something in there that wants to kill you.
Man, now you got me wanting to read the Slavic book for Castles and Crusades.
Yeah, I studied a lot of that stuff with, I would like to run Rollmaster. I will give you this advice, Satya. If you run Rollmaster, first off, limit the classes they're allowed to take to the basic, say 6 or 7. And if you have access to a printer, whatever weapons the characters carry, print out the attack and crit charts for them and make them keep track of that shit.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to be flipping around being like, oh, you've got a mace, that's a blunt weapon. You're going to be, I mean, it can get really out of hand really quick.
Yeah, do the same.
Make the players handle that shit. It's less you got to worry about.
Yeah, do the same if you're running DCC. Print out the charts for the players.
Yeah, for the spells and stuff, yeah.
Spells and the crit.
Yep. But if you do that and you're okay with that level of crunch, you can have a ton of fun playing Rollmaster. It can be a really fun game.
My FLGS owner has played Rollmaster, and he really liked it.
Well, the thing with Rollmaster is it started out as expansion books for D&D. for AD&D, like arms law, claw law, spell law. That
Okay.
was all supposed to be if you played D&D, but you wanted a more gritty or crunchy system.
Yeah.
And then once they made all the books, they're like, why don't we just come up with character generation and call it a game? And that's what they did. And then luckily, Iron Crown Enterprises got the rights to Lord of the Rings, and they put out the completely excellent Middle Earth role playing game back in the 80s, maybe 90. I think it's late 80s though. And that's a simplified version of Rollmaster because there's a lot less magic and there's a lot less races and stuff you got to worry about. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it's the same game really. And that's what I ran. And boy, we had like the one time one of the players was playing a human fighter type, and he fired a crossbow at like a troll, but he crit fumbled and shot himself in the foot and stuck his foot to the ground so he couldn't move. And then the troll ran up and crushed the skull in with a club. And I mean, that shit happened 20 plus years ago, and we still talk about it sometimes, you know. Like, remember the time you effed up so bad that there are so many inspirations before and beyond. Oh, yeah, yeah. Arthur, it was only like, say, 15 years ago that I got rid of running my homebrew in a Western-inspired world and went to an Eastern-inspired world. And when I say East, I mean the Kevin Roos. So my homebrew world, which I called Kaliningrad, which is an actual city, I think it become Danzig or something later, but however it works, was based 100% on like 10th century Kevin Roos mythology. So I had Pernix and you know, the various vampires and Strigoi and all that kind of crazy shit. I mean, a game set in ancient Ireland would be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if your character could like get high enough level and try out and become a Fianna. You know, that'd be pretty badass. But then you'd be fighting like furbogs and fomors all day long and other tribes. And
Yep.
so, yeah. But that would be really cool, you know? You could be like a cleric of Dagda or Maeve or whatever. I mean, be all right. Irish mythology, or at least what we know of it, thanks to the monks that decide to write shit down, is very interesting stuff. It is very interesting. But like most of those mythologies, it is my belief that the gods were actually heroes from a far more ancient time that over time, because of humans telling stories, become gods.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Thor was probably not an actual deity. He's probably just a big red-haired bastard that killed people with a hammer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, especially like I'm going to use Greek and Roman, where you actually had the gods interacting with people so much.
Right.
I mean, I could see where that could possibly happen.
I mean, Zeus pretty much impregnated everything he could find on the Italian peninsula or the Greek Isles and stuff. I mean, that guy was running wild in the streets and pissing his wife off to no end. You know, and it depends on whether you're talking Ares or Mars, because Ares is kind of a dick, but Mars was an honorable warrior. Because the Romans views Mars as an honorable warrior, but the Greeks, he was a spiteful asshole. And every time things went wrong, he went crying to his mama for protection. Because there's the story where Hephaestus traps Ares because Ares is sleeping with Aphrodite, which was Hephaestus' wife.
Yep.
And instead of punishing Ares, he goes crying to mom. So they let him go, and then they make fun of Hephaestus, and they tell him, "Hey, if you can't keep your wife from banging other dudes, that's your problem, dude. That's a you problem." Because that's how the Greeks were. People don't understand that in ancient Greek society, women were not allowed to leave the house unescorted. Like they were considered to be like no Greek man trusted his wife. Whereas the ancient Romans, there was a saying, as honorable as a Roman wife, because they were known to be so loyal. Like you could join the legion and be gone 20 years and come home and your wife be faithful and taking care of your house. But the Greeks were not that way. And the Slav, well, if they caught a Slavic woman cheating on her husband, they drove her out naked into the snow so she could just die. So they even pagan Slavs had no time for women cheating on their men. That was just not a thing. But yeah, most of the ancient gods, though, when you look at them, you can see the hero behind them.
Yeah.
You know, like the archetype, you know, like Lulambada, a master of crafts and really good with a spear and ends up killing his own grandfather, which is, what's his name? The Evil Eye, the leader of the Fomor, Baelor. I mean, so yeah, there's a lot of that. Oh yeah, the shape changing dragon. I forget its name, but it's got 3 heads, and it likes to kidnap princesses. And sometimes they fall in love and have children, or other times Ilya Mermits has to go to its name is like SZYG, so it's like Zigast or something. Sometimes Ilya Mermits or one of the great Bogatar will go to its cave and beat its ass and make it let the woman go. But you also have undead women who were so ugly in life, no one who would marry them, that come back from the dead and once a year will try to kidnap children. And if you don't get to them within a certain time, the child's just gone. Roman men had the power to execute an adulteress. Yeah, so, you know, that would make you want to be freaking loyal, I guess. I mean, I would never cheat on my wife ever, but if I knew that with the word she could have me put to death, I definitely wouldn't. I just noticed I'm wearing my Razor Force shirt. Total power over children, as it should be. I mean, the reason a man marries a woman is to produce offspring. Those are his offspring until they're old enough to be, you know. That's not just Roman. That's also the Hebrews were that way. I mean, the idea that being a Jew was carried down through the female line is actually relatively new, because Old Testament is always the father. If you look at like chronology, like from Abraham through Israel, was originally what is his name? They become Israel after he fought with the angel. It's all through, like in Matthew, if you look at the family tree, it's all through the men. Even though the women are there, it does mention Rebecca here and, you know, Esther there and stuff, but it's all through the men. But in modern day rabbinical Judaism, it's through the woman. When that changed, I don't know. I'm not sure. I do know that what we call rabbinical Judaism didn't exist until about the 5th century. It could have been Jacob, yes. And if you're Nation of Islam, so NOI, you believe that Jacob is actually Yaqub, and he was so mad at his father, Abram, and all of them, that he went to Al Patmos and created white men to be a perpetual pain in the natural black man's ass for all time. And that's why I make the joke about Yacubians and tricknology and shit, because these people actually believe that. And sometimes I use the thing with the giant headed black guy that looks like he's got 2 brains. That's Yaqub, who would be Jacob. And they tried to trap the Yacubians in Europe, but eventually they broke free and started running amok. So that's what Nation of Islam says.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny stuff. Look it up. It's hilarious.
I'll give him credit. It's not a spaghetti alien.
Yeah, but if you believe in the spaghetti alien, you get to go to a place where there's a beer volcano and a hooker factory.
I'll take the
Because
beer
that,
volcano.
yeah, it's a volcano, but it just shoots beer out all the time.
I'll take that. But the other stuff, I think I'm good.
Yeah, the hooker factory, whatever, it's like, I don't think, I mean, that's what they say, but that's a joke anyway. That's like, feel like I'm in Atlanta. Yeah, there's a lot of those guys up there. There's those guys in downtown Orlando off of Paramore. As they call themselves, the true Israelites. They like to stand on the corner and yell at people. And they're like, they're just like a black supremacist group that's convinced that they're the true Hebrews of the Bible and that we're a bunch of pale skinned snow devils that were created to be a big pain in their ass. And they'll yell it at you, which, I mean, I'm always armed when I'm out and about. So, they yell and I don't say anything and I keep stepping, So, when I leave the house, I take my little freedom generator with me because I live in the state of Florida and I'm allowed. I can do that. Yeah, they dress. Well, part of it is because you're never supposed to mix types of cloth in your clothing, and you're supposed to always let the fringe. That's an ancient Hebrew thing. So, like, if you actually study Judaism or were Jewish, like I used to have a prayer, like a shawl that you wore under your clothes, and mine was white and blue, and it ran down and it had the tassels at each of the corners. You know what I mean? And then you would wear a yarmulke anytime you're outside. So when I was in the army, right, I'd have my yarmulke on. But I mean, no one ever saw it because I always had my hat or my helmet on. And you wear your shawl underneath your normal clothes, So it's one of those weird things in like Leviticus or Deuteronomy where Moses said some shit about mixing types of material or something. So you're not ever if you were really hardcore, you shouldn't ever wear like a cotton poly blend. That would be right out. It has to be 100% polyester or 100% cotton. It can't be like a mix. But sword and sorcery villains, yeah, they're the ones that started the shit with that Catholic school from Kentucky, and then that kid that the Indian guy got in his face, and he stood there grinning. Ended up owning the shit out of most of the mainstream media. He got like tens of millions of dollars from all of them because it turned out that they were standing there and the true Israelites started yelling racial slurs at them. And they're like, they didn't know what to do about it. They're like, So, yeah, interesting times. I forget the name of that kid, but he'll never have to work again a day in his life. Sandman or whatever his name was. But yeah, Haas will tell you when he went through Atlanta, he'd always look out for tumbleweeds. And that's like a tumbleweed, except a weave that somebody got snatched off their head. And now it's just kind of getting blown down the sidewalk by the wind. Atlanta's a crazy place. Modest home. Yeah, in the beginning, yeah, the Romans were very, very, stoic. It was only later on, after the fall of the Republic, that they become a bunch of depraved maniacs. That's late stage freaking civilization there for you. What is the saying? Carthago delecta est. Carthage must be destroyed. And Crano, you're right. They are hilarious. And Andre, if you're still here, there's another Russian movie I watched that was really good about like 100 and something Russian dudes holding off a bunch of Mongolians. They all die doing it, but it was a good movie. It was a good movie. They did it so that the civilians in Kiev could escape. But what am I thinking about? Oh, anyway, the most exciting thing I've heard in the last couple of days, though, is the War Games Atlantic making 2,380 miniatures. I am stoked. And they will be that if they're making the miniatures, they'll be making STLs. And I've got my new Saturn 4 Ultra, so I am ready to go. Which the main thing with it is it's self-leveling and everything. So
Nice.
it literally, and how it works is once it prints a layer, instead of the thing going up and back down, the thing that you put the resin in tilts
Okay.
and then tilts back up. So the actual build plate never goes up and down. It just always goes up. But every layer, the basin tilts to break it free. And it makes it where you get so much less issues.
Okay.
Plus, I found out because of the resin I use, which is this ultra tough gray resin, I kept getting failures, and I'm like, this sucks. What's going on? So I looked up the stats, and it turns out that the basic Elegoo set at a exposure of 2 seconds. This stuff needs 5 or 6 at least.
Oh, wow.
So what was happening is I tried to do a build, and the resin itself was not curing.
Yep.
So now, and even though it's water rinsable, I'll rinse it all off with water really good, and then I'll spritz it with alcohol and rinse it again. And the alcohol always takes just a little bit more off, of whatever gunk might be on it. So I recently printed a build plate up, and it was like 40 of these textured bases.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it took about an hour and 30 minutes to make 40 of these bases. Wow. And the bottoms are already set to put magnets in.
Cool. Yeah, I just have a filament printer. I'd like to get a resin, but I just don't have the place for it.
Well, filament's awesome, though, because you can build so much awesome terrain for any game. You can build buildings, and depending on the size of your build plate, you can build all kinds of shit with filament. I would love a good like Creality or something like that, but I ain't got space for that.
Yeah, Ender 2, I think I got it a few years ago.
Yep. If I had a good filament thing, man, I would be making freaking castles and all kinds of crazy shit. My wife would kill me. Old school, traditional. Yep, they were. That one of the reasons the Romans hated the Carthaginians so much is that Carthage was well renowned for their Moloch worship or Baal, and the fact that they were always sacrificing their children and shit like that. And when the Romans saw that, they're like, no, not dealing with this shit. So, yeah, filament printers, I love them. I would love to have one, but I have nowhere to. Now, I'm in the process right now of selling a bunch of stuff on my Facebook store, and like a bunch of 40K stuff and that. So if I sell all that stuff, who knows?
Yeah, maybe you'll get the room. Yeah,
I might be able to get something, but I've got like 7 40K armies sitting out in the garage that I'm never going to play. I've got 4 Imperial Guard armies, a Craft World Elder army, a Dark Elder army, and then Space Marines, Necrons, and some orcs, but probably not enough for an army. And I do have an orc Stompa, so I could kind of. And I've got the Indomitus box set, which was one with Space Marines and Necrons. I've got still in the shrink wrap box of that.
Jeez.
Well, because Haas and I bought a box each, and we only opened one box, and then we read the rules, huh?
Hungar?
Yeah. I'm not going to call him Hungar anymore. He said he's okay with me calling him his nickname, which is Haas.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Um,
make sure.
We went in on it and we opened one and we read the rules and we're like, these rules suck balls. So we never opened the second box. Now, a game they put out that we did buy 2 of and I love absolutely was Kill Team.
I'll tell you what,
The new Kill Team is so good.
I don't have a lot of Games Workshop stuff, but I really like their water cup.
I've got one of those. I painted mine with flames, though.
I was over at my one of my
Yeah,
local.
the shipping would be insane, Satya. Florida to Finland, yeah, that'd be nuts.
I was over at my one local gaming store. I'm looking around like Citadel water cups. I'm like looking at it, it's like, whoa, that is actually really cool inside.
Mm-hmm.
I picked one up. I like the that how you can set the paintbrushes on it.
Yep, it's got the little areas there where you can hang them if you want.
Yep, it's got the grooves for the tips.
Yeah, so that you don't, because if you just leave it in a normal jar, your will bend, and that's not good. That's never a great thing. So here is what I've been doing while we've been talking, is I've been cutting the heads off of all these orcs I printed up, and then gluing on pig-faced orcs heads.
Oh, I wanted some pig-faced orcs.
Because, Badger Miniatures bought Otherworld Miniatures' entire miniature line.
Okay.
So you can still get those there, but they're a bit pricey. I have I guess 10 of the orcs, and I've scaled these out to fit in with my Otherworld Miniatures orcs. So I wish I hadn't erased the video. I did a battle a long time ago, and I used AD&D first edition rules, but it was like 100 humanoids versus 40 castle defenders. But I used AD&D rules, so and I took pictures of it, and and the heroes of the castle were actually the kids from the D&D cartoon. But the miniatures I have of them, they're grown up. So like Bobby the Barbarian is like this big brute of a dude, with a beard, and he's still got the club though. And Eric the Cavalier, he's exactly the same as cartoon, but he's grown. He's got a mustache and goatee, and he's got a sword though. Somewhere Eric picked up a sword, right?
Ouch.
Oh, the price on Otherworld Miniatures? Yeah.
I'm on Badger Games.
Yeah, but still, Otherworld Miniatures were always like, $6 each. I mean, they're like Games Workshop prices.
15.
How I ended up getting the ones I got is, and I don't know if Badger will do this. I hope they do. But Otherworld Games would every now and then have a sell where they'd have like an overstock sell, and everything would be like buy one, get another one. So, and that's what I did.
Okay.
So I was, me and my wife, we also go to Publix, and we only buy stuff that's on buy one, get one. That's how I get stuff, Like if I can't afford it right then, I can always wait. And but I don't know if Badger's going to do that. And if they don't, then that's going to be really sad, because that was kind of the cool thing, is like, if you wanted a bunch of orcs, you could always wait, and about once or twice a year, the orcs would be by 50% off or something. They also had a thing on during holidays where you could buy like a gold certificate, and however much the certificate cost, you could exchange it for like twice that much in miniature.
Oh, wow.
So again, 50% off basically.
Yeah.
But I don't know what Badger is going to do. So It's sad, I would think. Let's see. Yeah, last week was a big week for me. Double D came and hung out on the channel with me, and we painted together. And
Oh, nice.
Razor Fist called me out on his live stream and told all of his buddies they should check my channel out. It's a good channel. I was like, damn, Senpai noticed me. I printed up some of these guys too. These cave fishers.
Ooh,
I realized I didn't have any.
neat.
Yeah, but these guys, they're the ones that hang out like on ledges and throw the sticky filament down to try and pull characters up and kill them. I think they need to be cured a little bit more. I'll set them in this box, and then that way I can let them cure a little bit more, I think.
Oh man, just my main game store, the owner has been sharing me stories of running his group through what is it, the Night Below box set?
That's a very cool adventure.
Just hearing the stories, oh my god. I'm surprised the players haven't killed themselves yet.
What I know about it is watching Mage's Musing.
Oh, but there's this one part where there's this giant catfish in this underground lake, and the one guy decided to swim over there because there's an island in the middle of this lake, and he kept rolling whatever it was to get the catfish to start swallowing the character whole.
Yep. I've seen a player in my game die because they were playing a halfling and a giant frog swallowed them whole because it rolled a 20.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get out in time, so they died because they're like level 2. So yeah, Shark, I agree with you. A lot of players, for some reason, seem to not like domain level play. Now mine do. Like one of the first things that Hungar's character did when they got to the city is drop like a couple thousand gold pieces to buy a tavern. And then he hired the guy he bought the tavern from to run the tavern for a cut of the profits. So
that makes sense.
He does that though. This ain't the first. Well, it's the same character, but not the first time he's done this. Like he's always buying real estate. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay. I mean, buy the real estate, do the thing.
Yep.
And when my one friend, before he passed years ago now, his deal is he always played a cavalier in AD&D, and he always ended up building a castle and getting involved in like domain level play, like wars between kingdoms and trying to marry the princess of somewhere or other, and all this kind of shit. That was kind of his thing. And we had one campaign where the character he started with died of old age at like 70 something.
Oh wow.
But he had a number of children, and Hungar's dwarf character, because he played dwarf back then too, was still alive and relatively young for a dwarf, but he had been capped at like 7th level. So in the end, the two of them ended up joining a group together. So it was like, I think his name was Nalbar too, but it was like the dwarf that had adventured with Tristan ended up adventuring with the son of Tristan.
That's cool.
And he had a mine on the within the barony that Tristan ruled. So he had like a clan of his close relatives that worked in the mine with him. He wasn't in charge of them, but they, and that was kind of how they were connected. Is the dwarves were mining copper or something and sending it to the Baron,
Okay.
who was using it to pay taxes and stuff on the land, and yeah. So I guess in short, what I'm trying to say is the people I play with a lot of time are very interested in domain play. That's a thing, In OSC Advance, a knight can start looking for property to build a castle on at level 4. It's kind of nuts. Like everyone else has to wait till like level 9, but a knight's like, oh, I'm 4th level. I think I'll start building fortresses and shit. So, yeah, castles everywhere. I mean, well, that was how the Normans actually defeated the Welsh. They call it the castle campaign because the Welsh would always do hit and run attacks. So the Normans, and it was under the greatest knight to ever live. I forget his name.
Not Charlemagne, right?
No, this guy was like undefeated in 300 lists, and like he was a giant of a man, 6.5 feet tall. But he ended up becoming like the seneschal, basically, of Norman England. And so what he did to settle the Welsh down is he built a Norman fortress every 10 miles. Like in a grid in Wales every 10 miles. So anytime the Welsh would try a sneak attack, William Marshall.
Okay.
Every time the Welsh would try their sneak attack bullshit, they were never more than 5 miles away from a Norman barracks.
Yep.
And eventually they just got beat down. But yeah, he's the one in the TV show A Knight's Tale when he gets his helmet banged up so bad they have to hammer it off his head.
Okay, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, that's based on something that they say actually happened to William Marshall.
Okay.
But he was undefeated in duels and jousting, and like he won 300 jousts. And they also say, I mean, this could all be bullshit because it was 1,000 years ago, but he was like 6.5 feet tall and he could run and jump onto his horse in full armor. Like from behind, he could just run and put his hands on the horse's rump and vault himself into the saddle. Now, if that's true, I don't know, but that's what they say.
You know why everybody said Napoleon was short?
Because all the men that stood around him were like 6 foot tall.
Yeah, his bodyguards.
Yeah, the old guard or grognards, the grumblers. Plus, they were wearing a foot tall bearskin hats. In addition to being tall, they had those big ass bearskin hats. And also, French inches were bigger than English inches.
Yeah, that's right. They were.
Napoleon was actually taller than the guy who beat him at Waterloo. Wellington or whatever his name was. Not Wellington. Wellington's the guy we beat.
The beef guy.
Yeah. It's been too long since I've watched Sharps, so I don't remember his name. But the Sharp series, which Sean Bean, I watched that a while back. That was a pretty good series. He apparently was not very nice to his own men, but apparently his own men were a bunch of thieves and looters too. So,
Did Sean Bean die in that?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
Yep. It's like the only thing he's in that he don't die immediately. I mean, that's like the joke, It's like the casting guys are like, we need to cast somebody. And they're like, okay, is he going to die? Yes. Got the perfect guy.
Oh, well, he was in the one Silent Hill movie, and he didn't die.
Nope, he didn't. Yeah, but they screwed the movie up because they had his wife be the one to go to Silent Hill, whereas in the first game it was him. He went to Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that the whole thing going on at Silent Hill had to do with a fallen angel, Samael.
Oh wow.
Yeah, if you ever beat the first game, that's the deal.
Yeah.
There was a cult there, and Samael was like trying to literally rip Silent Hill into hell, Silent Hill. So that's why when you were playing the game, there would be like sometimes you'd hear like sirens, and then all of a sudden everything would change, and it would be all like basically hellish.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I've watched people play it. I haven't. They did remaster one recently. It's like, oh my god, $70 for a freaking remaster? No.
Yeah, they remastered one of the Resident Evil games and wanted like $80 or something too. And I was like, nah. I mean,
I will admit, I got the Oblivion remaster, and that was $50.
I've just been playing Valheim lately. And Valheim is just Viking Minecraft.
Okay.
With better graphics. But really, you're just a Viking guy that died and went to Valheim, and you run around and learn new tools and build shit and try not to get killed by various Norse monsters like trolls and shit. So, and yeah, the Normans were definitely something. And the reason they conquered Britain and did all that shit is they were mercenaries. And from a very young age, every Norman man, especially if you were from one of the powerful families, you were expected to be able to ride and fight. I mean, that was just the expectation. They trained from very young age. And yeah, they were hired by Italy to be mercenaries. And after they whipped the shit out of the people Italy had hired them to whip the shit out of, they decided, we'll just stay. And then they took islands in the Aegean Sea. They owned like parts of North Africa. They were all over the damn place. I mean, the Normans, and to think they started out as Vikings that the French paid off. I think it's what was his name? Something Blacktooth. And the French were like, hey, if you stop burning Paris down, we'll give you land. And he's like, fine. And the French king thought they were doing him one over by giving him Normandy, which was not a great chunk of land. But it was better than where the Vikings had come from.
Yep.
So they settled in and started reproducing. And then next thing you know, conquered France and just started conquering everything. Yeah, they in one battle, William the Conqueror? No, I think it was Richard Lionheart and 900 Norman knights got into a battle with something like 10,000 Saracens. And the Normans lost 100 men and they killed thousands of the Saracens, routed them and just freaking mowed down half of the army. Saladin himself had a lot of respect for Richard. I think it's Richard, yeah. Because, I mean, but another big part of it was that the Saracens were wearing cloth and the Norman knights were wearing 2 layers of chainmail, big hacking sword, and 2 helmets because they had a skull helmet and then a great helm. And they rode these gigantic horses compared to the Arabians. So, I mean, it was basically like tanks versus Jeeps. I mean, the Jeeps are fast and they can get around, but,
Yeah,
that's the thing, My brother sent me a meme. I showed it to my wife today. And it was like one of the greatest generals of all time. And it has a picture of Saladin. And then underneath it says a teenage handicapped boy. And it has a picture of Baldwin of Jerusalem. It's like, who would win? It's like, well, historically, King Baldwin literally almost killed Saladin. He massacred the Muslim army so hardcore when he's 16 years old that they never attacked Jerusalem for like another 2 decades. And Saladin himself in his writing said that Jerusalem would never fall as long as King Baldwin ruled. And it didn't. But of course, you know King Baldwin, right, Malky? His handicap was leprosy.
Oh.
So in the movie Kingdom of Heaven, when the one guy with the mask rides out and he says "Salam alaikum," and Saladin, it's like, I pray you take your army back to Jerusalem, and Baldwin's like, I pray you take your army back to Damascus, or we will all die here. And Saladin thinks about it, and then he's like, I'll take my army back to Damascus. And then he tells Baldwin, he's like, I shall send you one of my physicians. And Baldwin's like, peace go with you. But yeah, Saladin had a lot of respect for King Baldwin. But the poor kid, how they found out he had leprosy is when he was very young, him and his friends were playing a game to see who could resist the most pain, where they'd pinch each other. And Baldwin always won. So his mentor, teacher, whatever, asked him, how do you always win? And Baldwin's like, I don't feel any pain. And they're like, oh, shit. Because leprosy destroys your nerves.
Okay. I mean, there is a... Go ahead.
Well, what killed people back in the old days was not necessarily the leprosy. It was that they would get a minor wound somewhere on their body. Yep. They wouldn't feel it, and it would get septic. And then they would start, rotting. And, sepsis will kill you. I've seen it. Sepsis will kill you.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. They didn't understand. Like nowadays, if you've got leprosy, they can cure it.
Well, I know there is a condition where it's very rare, where you can feel no pain. Like you could break bones.
Not leprosy. You're just born with something.
Yeah, it was on there's an episode of The Unexplained with William Shatner where they're talking about all the weird stuff that people can,
I think I've seen something like that.
There's this one guy, he's I think from Norway or something, where he can sit for hours in freezing cold water, where he's developed this ability to withstand it.
That's crazy. I know once a year in Russia, they carve a big cross in the ice on the lake, and the priest will throw a crucifix into the big cross, and then everyone jumps in, and they dive down to see who can come back up with the crucifix. Cross. Yeah. And that's in ice. The ice is this thick. They're actually carving this thing out with chainsaws,
That's like the people that do the polar bear challenge.
Yeah, up north, on the Great Lakes and shit like that. That's a thing, Michigan, New York. They do it
here every winter on the Susquehanna.
I mean, not really a thing that we would do down here because it's not really a thing that's going to happen.
Yeah. We get the cold winters up here.
And I'm a coward, so when I'm in Kentucky, you couldn't push me into the river. I will not go in.
And you guys got the gators down there, too.
Well, down here we got gators, and you just assume that any body of water has one. In Kentucky, you have catfish.
Yeah.
And some of them have been caught that have been around 10 feet.
Oh, yeah. I've seen some of the clips from down in, was it South America or Africa where they have the big ones?
They have in China or Vietnam, they have the Mekong Delta catfish. And those bad boys get, insane big. 15 feet plus.
Yeah, these guys are catching these catfish with their bare hands.
Yeah, see, in Kentucky, people have died doing that because the rule for they call it noodling, and the rule for noodling is this: never reach into a crevice to pull catfish out if your head is not above water.
Makes
Because
sense.
if you dive down, filling around on the cliffside, and you find a thing and you stick it in there, if there's a 6 foot catfish in there and it bites down on your hand, you're not pulling it out.
Yeah.
And it'll just hold you till you drown, you know? And that's just the way it is. I mean, I had a relative that got killed because they're putting out a trot line and they went to pull it up and they're standing in a aluminum john boat, as we call them. And as they were pulling the line up, they pulled this catfish up. And the guy that was with him said this catfish, the head was about, I don't know, 2 feet across. And as soon as its head came up, it dove down. And when it dove down, it drug the line through my great uncle's hands, and the treble hooks got in him, and down he went. You know, never found him again.
Yeah.
What a big alligator will do, shark, is it'll grab you, pull you under, and spin.
Yep.
And then once you're dead, it'll ram you up underneath something and let you sit there for a few days at least. You know, they like to let you marinate. And Florida is the only place in the entire world where alligators and crocodiles co-inhabit the same area.
Huh.
Except the difference between the two is alligators only get aggressive when they get about 14 feet long. A crocodile is going to try and take a bite out of your ass. It don't matter. And you can tell the difference because alligators have a very broad snout, that kind of square. Crocodiles have a pointed snout, and a lot of times you can see teeth in it, like hanging out of it. But yeah, crocodiles give zero shits about anything. They will try and eat you. We also have the most shark attacks in the world, but the least of all the places that measure number of shark attacks, we have like the least fatalities.
Hawaii must have the most then.
But we have the most. And the reason is because in Florida, you're very likely, if you're wading around in the shallows, to get bit by a nurse shark. And they only get about 2-3 feet.
Yeah.
So you're wading around fishing, and a sand shark or a nurse shark or something takes a little bite out of you and takes off, or maybe a blue. No big deal. Whereas in South Africa, you go out there, you get hit by, 15-foot white shark, you're done. It's like, bam. Or Australia, which also has a problem with great whites off the north coast. They even cut one open one time and found a horse in it.
Wow.
And they're like, okay, how did this shark get a horse? Who knows? Maybe the horse thought, I think I'll go for a swim today. And the shark was like, hey, look what's swimming. And then ate it.
Yeah.
Because that is what sharks do. We also have monstrously huge hammerheads down here.
Oh.
But I have never heard of anyone being attacked by a hammerhead in my entire life. I've just never even heard of it being a thing. But I've seen people pull them out of the surf 10 feet long. And we got bonnet head sharks, but they only get a couple feet long. And blue tip sharks and white tip. And again, they don't get huge. And some people warn that occasionally bull shark. And if you run into a 10-foot bull shark, you're in trouble. And the problem with bull sharks is they can swim right up the fresh water and get you. So there was a picture, actually, someone took of a bull shark fighting with an alligator down in near Okeechobee. Because the bull shark had somehow went right up a canal into the swamps and was fighting it out with alligators. Yeah, hippos are brutal, man.
There was, I've heard the hippos will tip over boats on purpose. Then there was this one guy who rescued a baby hippo, raised it, and ended up killing him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hippos are like the worst animals on the planet. And what's crazy about them is they can't swim, and their nearest relative, according to scientists, is whales. Blue whale is its nearest relative. But all the deadliest animals on the planet that kill the most people are herbivores, right? Like hippos are mostly herbivores, even though they have been seen eating meat on occasion. But like the black Cape buffalo, those things kill like hundreds of people a year.
How many?
And in America, the number one killer of people are deer, which I think counts moose too.
That makes sense. I mean, trying to avoid them.
I know when I lived up in the Eagle River, man, the last thing you wanted to see ever was a moose and a baby. Because mama moose will stomp you out. And if you've never been near a moose or seen one, next to people, you don't know how big they are. They're big. Like they're like 7 feet tall at the shoulder. A big bull moose, freaking huge. And they run on the bottom. They don't even swim. It's like weird. And female hippos, when they're pregnant, they leave their group and they go have the baby, and then they stay away for a couple weeks, and then they come back, because if they don't do it that way, the male hippos will kill and eat it. Yeah, wildebeest. They call them in South Africa and that region. They call those freaking buffalo Black Death. And they talk about how they remember you. Like a hunter killed one once, and the next year he went back to hunt them. And one of them, I guess he had shot but not killed, remembered him and hunted him down and killed him. So yeah, they're bastards apparently. But it's like everyone's terrified of like great whites and stuff like that, and not for no reason, obviously, but you're a lot more likely to get taken out by something that eats grass than Yeah, in Alaska, you're much more likely to get killed by moose than you are a bear. Which is not to say you can't get killed by a bear. You absolutely can. And it does happen occasionally. And wolves as well. A lot of people like to be like, wolves never kill humans. Bullshit. Look it up. If they start starving in the harsh winter and they cut you out, you're done, because they don't have morality. It's not like they're sitting here wondering about it. All they know is they're hungry. Yeah. One thing they have a problem with moose up there is if you have apple trees, the moose will eat the rotten apples. And because the apples are rotten, the sugars in them have fermented, and the moose will get drunk and then end up getting hung up in trees and shit. And they have to actually call wildlife game people to come and get these drunk moose. They're all just freaking hammered on, I guess, apple cider, really. Went to Africa once. I'd love to go to Africa. Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to kill anything in Africa, really. But I would bless the rains down in Africa.
Let's try to think of a line.
Right. Actually, I don't know if it would be good to live there governmentally or whatever, but I think Patagonia is absolutely beautiful. That's the southern part of Argentina.
Okay.
And if you go to the southernmost part with binoculars, you can see Antarctica, is what they say.
Wow.
But, miles and miles away, of course, but still, you know. The only thing I really know about Patagonia is I watched a season of Alone and they sent them to Patagonia. And it's just cold mountains, which is right up my alley. I mean, when I was a younger man, Malachi, I tried like hell to convince my wife to move to Alaska. And she said, nope. I'm like, it'll be cool. I got relatives up there. So we could go up there and stay with my uncle until we find our own place, you know? And she's like, nope, I am not going to Eagle River. I'm like, damn. We will be sooner than later moving to Kentucky, though. Not that that will change much in my life. It really won't. Actually, it might make it better because I'm kind of a mama's boy and
Yeah.
I'll be able to visit my mom.
That's where your brother's at too, right?
He's in C, but occasionally he lives like maybe 30 minutes away from them. So he occasionally goes to their house and they've got a spare bedroom. And it's really good because my pops has had to have surgery on his eyes lately to get like cataracts removed. And so Haas can go up there and stay the night and drive him to Lexington to the doctors, which is a good couple hour ride,
Yeah.
Lexington from where we are, because Lexington's a bit further west than where we are, but it's where the best hospital is. And then, the thing with the eye surgery is they don't do them both the same day. They do like one, and then a week later they do the other one. So, and then he gets to hang out. I always joke with him and say he's in my bedroom. He's like, get out of my bedroom. He's like, it's not your bedroom. But he gets to hang out, and a lot of times he makes mom Korean barbecue or curry or something because, he likes to cook that kind of food and she likes to eat it. And, like last time I visited mom, because my wife and I go up once or twice a year, we always tell Haas, hey, we're going to mom's. We'll be there on this day. And he'll drive up and be waiting. And then we'll spend a week up there and it'll be a whole week of me hanging out with my mom and my pops and my brother and, running up and down the mountain and everything like that. And we've got our own gun range on the property because we own 30 acres around it.
Wow.
So we can go out and, just waste money shooting into the side of the hill, But I let my relatives hunt up there. And if I lived up there, they would give me venison all the time. But I don't live up there, and if they gave me any by the time I got home,
Yeah.
But Haas asked one of my cousins for some venison, and they gave him like a couple back straps and a bunch of stew meat and stuff. Because for him, if it's frozen, he drives 40 minutes to Tennessee. I mean, it's all good,
Yeah.
So, yeah. Furs, gold, crops, fruit, and yeah.
No, having places to explore is good.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. And my players, most of them know nothing about Greyhawk, so everywhere is a place to explore. Like right now, they're near the Kingdom of Ket. So, which is just north of Bissell. So near the Lort Mill Mountains. New lenses. Yep. So maybe that's what he had, because they're like a week apart, and he had to put eye drops in whichever eye, like X amount of times per day, even waking up at night to do it.
Ooh.
And then he got the other one done, and it was the same thing. So, as the Rolling Stones said, what a drag it is to get old.
Yeah, don't remind me.
Yeah. I always liked the Stones better than the Beatles.
Yeah, Beatles for me.
I like the Beatles, but I just think the Stones were, I think it's just they were edgy boys back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, the Beatles were singing I Want to Hold Your Hand. The Stones were singing Paint It Black.
I love that song.
Yeah. The first time I ever saw someone die, like really brutally die on TV, was Tour of Duty.
Yep.
It was like the second episode, dude steps on a mine, and he can't pick his foot up. But the thing about the show is every episode started with the helicopter rotors, and then Paint It Black would start hitting.
Yep.
You know? And that was some crazy ass shit, that show.
That was.
And like all the men that are in their 70s and 80s in my family went to Vietnam. They're like volunteers, all of them, because that's what hillbillies do. Every time a war starts, we volunteer because, you know, I don't know why. Maybe it's a Scots-Irish thing or something. It's just like, oh, there's a war. Let's go. I mean, that's what I did. As soon as I was 17, I had my parents sign my ass over to the government. And a year later, I'm in Iraq. And I turned 19 in Iraq.
My uncle did the same thing, but it was I can't remember when it was. I don't even know if I was born yet. But yeah, he was over in Germany. He's in the army at 17. My grandfather signed him in.
Oh, cataracts. So yeah, I think that's what he had. I mean, if next time Hungar's on Shark, he would know because he drove him to the hospital the whole time. And then he hung out because even though he's very sick, he could still help mom with, you know, driving her to the store and stuff like that.
Hold on.
Your dad was a 60 gunner on a chopper. Yep. Mine was a tanker. And he was assigned to an M48, I think, tank, a Walker, Bulldog, or Patton, or whatever it was. He had like 3 of them shot out from under him. I used to have Polaroid pictures of the tanks that he had been in that got destroyed by various things, you know. But yeah, they called him in and he saw some shit, you know. They were calling him in.
This is a piece of the Berlin Wall.
Oh, diamond plate. Look at that. Nice.
Yeah, my uncle snuck it into the country.
Nice.
Yeah, he was over. He was done with being overseas once right before the wall came down.
I remember that. I think all of us Gen Xers remember.
Oh, yeah, I do.
What was that? Like 88, 89?
89.
Yep, the wall came down. It was like, wow. So I guess we're not getting nuked by the Ruskies after all, you know?
Yeah, well, wall comes down. We start learning what's going on. And, hey, let's just spend more money on the military.
Yep, Shark jumping out of helicopters. Yeah, man. I never had to do any of that. When I was in, my MOS doesn't even exist anymore, but back then it was 11 Mike 10. And that was mechanized infantry. But then sometime long after I got out, I come to find out later the Army decided to streamline all of the jobs. So they got rid of 11 Mike and just now it's all 11 Bravo. Because they realized you really don't need a lot of training to jump out of the back of the APC. It's pretty easy, really. I mean, the ramp drops and your fire teams go out one left, one right, and then you bounding Overwatch to engage the enemy, and the APC provides covering fire while you advance on target. So, I mean, any 11 Bravo can do that. And to learn how to drive a Bradley, I mean, if you can drive a car, you can drive a Bradley. I mean, it's just got that yoke there. You know what I mean? It's really not. It's nothing about it's difficult, you know.
Excuse me.
So they got rid of the Mike, and now you've only got Bravos and Charlies. They got rid of Delta too. 11 Delta. I think they got rid of that, and then they made it 19, not 19, something Delta, which is like Cav Scout. Maybe it is 19. And they ride around in Bradley M3s, which are just like the M2, except they can only hold 2 infantrymen in the back, but they have a shit ton more tow missiles stored because they're scouts. So, you know, they just creep up and send people out. They're considering getting rid of the airborne. No, we dropped people. Daryl, didn't we drop people on Grenada? I think we did. Don't remember, actually. Oh, I know for a fact we dropped people in Panama, but that was 75th Rangers dropped in Panama. I think 3rd Battalion out of Hunter Army Airfield. And I only kind of remember that because some of the guys I was in the Army with had those cool jump wings with the star on it and the wreath, which meant they'd done combat jumps.
My uncle was Army intelligence.
Oh, smart guy.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's how it is, Shark. I don't think it's different one branch to the next. I mean, when you're in the back of a Bradley in a combat situation and you can hear like the AK rounds pattering off the armor, the ramp drops. I mean, and then like the training takes over. It's so weird because then when you're done with the engagement, in my experience, that's when what actually happened actually hits you. Like your conscious brain actually stops to think about what happened. And that's when you start getting the sweats and being like, oh shit, that was close, right? But in the middle of the firefight, like me, cold as ice. I didn't think about anything. When I targeted anyone down range to like eliminate a target, I didn't think about anything more than it's a target that needs to be eliminated. But yeah, it's always after the firefight when you take stock of what happened and you're like, holy shit, I should be dead. You know? or I can't believe I did this or that, or that's when you really stress out. For me, it was always after the fact, because you're just like, oh shit. Whoo. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they dropped Rangers on the airport at Panama. I'm almost willing to bet on that. Now in Desert Storm and Shield, the 82nd Airborne were there, but they didn't jump. They literally just rode trucks because there was no reason to jump them. And plus, they were to our east, and my unit, 24 Infantry Division, was the unit that cut off Highway 8 from Basra to Baghdad. Because, you know, being a full combined arms mechanized team, which we were 3 infantry companies and 1 M1A1 tank company, that was our combat team. You know, we could move across that desert fast because like them M1 tanks will do 50 miles an hour across the open desert, no problem. I've got pictures in one of my books of an M1 whipping across the sand, and it's throwing a rooster tail of sand like 20 feet in the air. I mean, it's just killing it, you know. And a Bradley, unless you're going through super rough terrain, those Brads will haul ass, you know. So, yep, being shot at, yep. For me, I don't know if it was adrenaline, but it was just like the ramp drops and everything just goes straight to that like lizard brain training. You know, that the drill instructor just beat into your head for that, you know,
Muscle
13
memory.
plus weeks. Yeah, it's all muscle memory. You're not even thinking about it. So, like any targets I might have taken out at the time I took them out, I didn't view them as people until later, you know? It's always after you've burned everything up that you're like, then you think about it and you're like, damn, that's crazy, man. Can you even believe that, you know? Like for the longest time, I thought when we took targets out, we were shooting them out of their boots. But then, like years and years and years after I was even out of the army, I was sitting there thinking about one night and I realized, no, we keep attacking them at 3 a.m. They're asleep. Then we show up and start messing with them. They jump up. They were asleep. So they don't put their boots on. They just grab a rifle, right? And then we take them out. And then my 18-year-old self, I'm all like, damn, we shot them out of their boots. And it's like, no, you idiot. They had their boots off because they're sleeping. Crazy, man. Crazy. Yeah, I remember when we went to Objective Red 2, before we moved in, I was sitting on top of the Bradley, and there was a battery of 155s pretty far away, but they were just cooking it up for like an hour straight. And every time they fired, I could feel it echoing through my lungs, like my rib cage, you know. Those 155s just boom, 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 boom. And then we rolled up, and Red 2 was a gigantic sand fort they had built. And they had these things called acers, which were like gigantic armored bulldozers come in and just plow right through the sand wall. And as soon as they did that, we just went in and dismounted and started clearing bunkers and stuff. But everything in there was dead already from all the artillery they dumped on them, man. They dumped some baloney on those bastards. MLRS, 155s, freaking B-52s. I remember sitting in the Bradley turret, the gunner of the Bradley, because I wasn't a gunner, I was a dismount. But he'd called me up to look through the magnification, the scope of the Bradley main gun. And I could see B-52s. I don't know how far up they were, maybe a mile. But they were way, way up there. You couldn't see them with the naked eye. And they were flying like 3 abreast, heading north, these B-52s. And it's like, God, feel bad for whatever's on the receiving end of that shit. Because, a B-52 is like a flying war crime. Well, you Marines, man, you guys, they get into your head. They train you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. And I don't mean that in any disparaging way. But hey, us soldiers, it's the same thing, it's you get that muscle memory. And then, all of a sudden you're just like, boom, go. And our jobs are really easy. It's just you bounding Overwatch to the enemy until you're close enough to kill him. And generally that's under 50 yards. Typically, like in World War II, they were engaging people at like 200 yards and shit with Garans and K98s. We get right up on somebody's ass. I mean, we're talking within a block, 100 yards. And if you're lucky, the Brad's main gun's keeping them pinned down. So it's bedtime, Malachi.
Yeah, it is. I'd say I'm getting off.
Yeah, I think I am too, bro. But I appreciate you hanging out.
Yeah, always fun.
Yeah, well, I talk a lot, but hopefully it doesn't annoy you. And if it does, you just need to start interrupting me.
Yep.
But Shark, get some sleep, bro.
Yeah,
and have a good dream.
Yep, good seeing Shark in chat as always.
Yeah, all these guys. And I'll talk to you later, Malachi.
Have a good night, James.
Yes. Peace.